MVP Black are one of the most dominant teams at this event. They have the most stable roster and have always been in the grand finals of every single event this year.
이 남은 기간 열심히 하다 보면은 충분히 가능하리라 믿어요.
All of the other teams that are here at the Global Championship are scared of MVP Black, and frankly, they should be.
하던 대로 잘하면 될 것 같아요.
별로 그렇게 걱정되진 않아요.
They have been known to win games in 6 minutes.
MVP Black finishes with fireworks. It was vicious.
6분에서 10분 내로 그냥 게임 끝내고 저희는 퇴근할 것 같아요.
Their eyes are set even further to the next match down the road. And if they fall here, it would be a travesty to the legacy that is MVP Black. On paper, MVP Black is the strongest team in this matchup, and Fnatic know it.
I think Korea is a step ahead of everybody else. Korea just practices more seriously every single day and harder.
But Fnatic is a team not to underestimate. To take out MVP Black at this point would be such an accomplishment, not only for themselves, but for the region too.
We're just trying to do as good as we can and make sure that we make our region proud.
The Titans that are MVP Black. They won the very first Global Heroes of the Storm event. Second place in every other event they've competed in, and they are absolutely just dominant, really, when you look at it. Can Fnatic beat them? I mean, Kaldor, I know we saw some good games yesterday, but do you think they have what it takes?
I think if they play on the normal level and are not intimidated by the stage and the opponent, they can definitely give MVP Black a hard time. But let's not kid ourselves, the Koreans look sometimes unbeatable. So they can make it happen, but it's going to be incredibly difficult. I
mean, I think we'll all agree in the fact that when it comes to team fights, when it comes to mechanical skill, MVP Black just has a different level of synergy that the other teams don't necessarily have. But Jay, how we were talking about not going for a linear way, just with Stitches, looking for the hook gorge. Do you think, I mean, just drafting back in time, if we look at them, have they shown that they are good enough to find those weird compositions? Last year we saw Korea fall to the murky, unkillable comp. That doesn't really work anymore with the kind of heroes that exist. Do they have things in their pocket, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, they've shown it in the European regionals. They come out with some different strategies, Leoric, stuff like that. And we see sometimes on Dragonshire, MVP's worst map. On paper, when I look at this team, Breeze versus Sign, I mean, there's so many matchups that we can see to where you can see people on that front line, on that back line. But make no mistake about it, the most dangerous player in the world is on MVP Black, and that's Rich.
Well, let's see what kind of hero Rich ends up on, because we are starting the draft for game number 1. Make some noise, because we're going to Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Alrighty, one thing to know when looking at this is that we are in Tomb of the Spider Queen. It is a European special selected here by Fnatic. MVP Black will ban Malfurion. They banned that every single game so far in this tournament, no matter their positioning, prioritizing the Vola for the wave clear onto the map already. So right now it is a very standard, except Fnatic targeting Rich, going with the Alarak. I love that choice from them.
I like that ban. It's actually really important for them to make sure that Rich is not completely snowballing this. And they are in this game going to look quite for a bit of wave play. I know that they would have loved to pick up a Vala here, but of course with them going into the second picks, they still are able to at least lock down that ETC for Breeze, where he really excels at.
Is this going to be an Ariel for MVP? There it is. Wow. High prioritization when it comes to wave clear. They've shown this kind of draft priority very, very consistently. That is one thing about MVP, is that their draft choices are almost always the same throughout all of Super League and everything else, adapting to a current patch, and then they hold it true through almost every World Championship they've competed in. And so hopefully Fnatic can use that to their advantage, because they right now are playing textbook MVP Black.
One of the more interesting things I think that we've seen from Fnatic is the high priority towards ETC over Murd, and Breeze is one of the best Murden players in the world, right up there with Sign. So we've seen kind of this priority there. When we talk about rotating between lanes, ETC can definitely set up some early combos and some kills.
We've even seen like Breeze play on Dragonshire just yesterday, and he played an absolute fantastic game as a tank there. And I feel it also comes down a bit to what we've been talking about earlier, potential cheeses that they have going into this best of fight right now. And for me, really, it's important if they can play just completely without pressure here. And I think they might finally be in a position where that is possible for them to do.
I love the fact that we're seeing specific bans, Gul'dan and Alarak, things that we've seen MVP Black play in the last week plus. These are two heroes that they've been pulling out more and more and having great success on.
One of the things that I find actually extremely interesting is when we are talking about like interviews with MVP Black, we asked them actually what they took from those scrims with Dignitas. And they said back then that one of the things that happened is that they felt Gul'dan was a bit of an odd pick. Since then, they actually started to use Gul'dan with pretty much a lot of success, and now it's even a target ban against them.
The one thing to look at here is Kyoja's hero pool. It's not that he can't play a lot of heroes, but the ones that he does play are usually map specific, and putting them on a smaller map usually puts him onto things like Sylvanas, which is one of his more played heroes during Super League, but without a doubt his least successful. And now seeing how the draft has moved, Tassadar is still available. It's not the only one they can be going to, but when you put MVP off of a large map, suddenly their team dynamic becomes pretty simple and straightforward, like all revolving around Kyoja's hero pool. So hopefully Fnatic understands that and is considering that going into the back half of the draft.
Yeah, the other hero to consider there is Falstad, but at the same time, that's a hero that Fnatic likes to play as well. And we see some serious plays being made out of Falstad once again at this global championship. So we're going to see if that's a priority here for Fnatic. If not, that might end up in the hands of MVP Black.
Fnatic is actually one of the European teams that doesn't have as much of a priority on Tomb of the Spider Queen as others. I mean, Red, you've been talking a lot about Tomb being a European specialty. They love to play Zul here, which is actually what they are picking up. They said before that they are trying to just really snowball it a bit and try to win the wave clear game. But so far, what MVP Black has against them isn't too shabby.
I think MVP might now turn with that Zul pick into a... They're not going to match the wave clear. I think at this point they're going to try and concentrate on kill potential, and that might move into a Kerrigan option for Rich. Granted, Tomb isn't necessarily Kerrigan's best map. It is one of her better. I do think that we want to see Rich's next pick in this rotation is very important. If they want to match the wave clear approach for Fnatic, which I personally think is not their play style majority of the time on the smaller map. They go with the Chen instead. All right.
Okay, so if we look at Chen, it's one of the heroes where we've seen Rich play a fair bit of, but it doesn't necessarily look as dominant as a lot of the other melee assassins. This seems like a really confident pick considering what we saw with this Chen earlier this week.
I absolutely love what Fnatic is doing. The first ban on Alarak sets up the late pick Zul, but also that early Tychus pick pushes into what potentially MVP Black would be doing. So they have control of that front line with both of those heroes, and I think they've done that through the draft, and there's the Falstad pickup we talked about.
Yeah, we had the Falstad already, of course, in our sights here, and Chen is going to be, as you already said, a key hero here, because at that bot lane, we've seen earlier, Rich making a couple of mistakes on that hero, and Fnatic is now in a situation where they took that risk. They banned out Chen on a lot of maps because they have compositions that are vulnerable to his approach, especially if you go into a barrel. But right now, they have, I feel, pretty much the draft that they want so far.
I think both teams have a lot of what they do want. Yeah. The question is it going to be enough? I do like that Fnatic has prioritized a lot of focus onto the map, and that is why I think that Europe is so successful on this map specifically, and it does kind of cater to the weaknesses of MVP. If you don't have to take the team fight or you don't let them, we saw Dig getting a 2-level advantage over them on this map specifically with the same focus. Granted, at the back half, MVP was able to get a winning team fight and completely turned around that game. So Fnatic's next pick, the Leoric, not surprising.
Special. Yep. This is the EU Leoric special. Yeah. I mean, when we saw MVP Black play against Dignitas, Dignitas brought Leoric. The thing is that MVP Black, they were able to draft Tyrael around that. We saw one killer sanctification kind of neutralize that game. So I love what Fnatic has done strategically throughout this draft.
They love to play Leoric on this map, and they have an enormous amount of wave play right now, and they said they want to snowball it here. They want to try and just win the first map so that MVP Black feels the pressure. And that could be what's happening here. They just need to win that early game, and it's not going to be easy.
The most important thing for Fnatic now with their composition is they have all-in on manipulating the map, getting a 2-level advantage through the map objective in the 1 to 2 turn-ins. If they fail to open up a minimum of 2 forts, I think that MVP Black is going to be able to manipulate the back half of the game and turn around again onto those team fights. So they need to be very efficient in the first about 12, 13 levels, a minimum of 2 forts, threatening key front walls, and they might have a shot, because I agree with both of you. They have actually done a lot of things that complement them and hinder what MVP is known for.
But if they do manage to do that, they do manage to take control of the vision on the map and find those entombs, and Auriel force that crystal Aegis very quickly. I mean, that's the kind of situation where you are sitting beautifully, because Auriel, Detainment Streak, yeah, she does have some good utility in staying alive, but a front line, a triple front line, they can really bring the pressure.
Think about the front line control that they have. The early Tychus pickup, the back end Leoric. I mean, that's extreme frontline control. They don't necessarily have to engage hard into fights. They can basically play defensive while also being offensive with some of those key abilities.
The wave clear is definitely going to make it here. I mean, I completely agree with what Jay just said. Tychus is going to be a key role, but for me personally, the early game is going to decide a lot how this first match is going to end up.
So guys, when we look at this, when we look at the drafts, who do you guys think have the edge here? Jay, what are you thinking?
Well, quite simply put, I think that you have to look at MVP Black as a team to be the favorite. And we can just get the camera back over here. I might have something for everybody. I guess we're not going to get that camera, but there we go. This right here is the team to beat. We're going to see if Fnatic can pull it off. MVP Black, there we go.
I mean, I know, of course, that you have a bit of a favorite here for MVP, but to be quite honest with you, I have one of those myself, and mine says Fnatic. Like, I don't know.
Where did you get that?
That was beautiful. The modification, that was impressive.
Dread, what are you feeling?
MVP Black is a significantly better team fighting team, but I am impressed with what Fnatic has done. I didn't think I would say this, but I actually might have my money in the Fnatic basket.
What just happened?
It's only because it's one of MVP's weaker maps, and again, they abuse what Fnatic is so good at on this map, and it is all about what it pulls away from the team fights that MVP is so well known for. Granted, I'm not saying MVP can't win this, but I think Fnatic did their research and did exactly what I want to see from a European team going against Korea.
I am so happy that my constant brainwashing finally paid off and I have you in my camp. Awesome. Love to hear it.
You know, this little orange wristband kind of got slipped in my arm today. It says Fnatic or something? Yeah, I'm kind of rooting for Fnatic here. I think they've got what it takes.
They have to snowball, though. They absolutely need to snowball. If this game goes to level 12, they're on even structures and on even levels. I think there's almost no way Fnatic turns around in the team fight. But if they do that, they might have enough control to say, MVP, it doesn't matter. We're always going to have a tier advantage when it comes to talents.
My big hope is really that for them the pressure is off. That's always their biggest opponent. It's not even the team that they play. It's always their pressure they feel on stage. They accomplished everything they wanted. They are in the semifinal. They are in the top 4. This is the moment you can just like play the game. And if they do that, they have a chance, even though they are the underdog.
Well, let's see if the underdog story is real. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise. Game number 1 of the semifinals is here. Take it away, Caldor and Jayhow.
All right, Caldor, game number 1. Here we are, the semifinals. MVP Black versus Fnatic. And on the blue side, we have MVP Black. That's going to be Kyoja on Falstad, Merryday on Ariel, Rich on Jhin, Sake on Bala, and Sign on Muradin.
And all the way over to the right side of the map on ETC, it is Breeze on Tychus. We have Quapnix, Shrimpy on Zul, Ruby on Leoric, Smax on Rega. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Fnatic!
You can hear the energy in the room right now, Caldor. This is Fnatic trying to go out. You can see Breeze already comfortable bringing out the B-step. But this is the toughest test Fnatic has ever had in their entire life.
We are at the semi-final here at BlizzCon, and now they just have to make sure that they're having fun. If they do that, they have a good chance here. In the middle already, a bit of brawling going on as Fnatic 5-mans the mid lane. They have the Zul, they have the Leoric. The wave clear is definitely on their side.
They definitely do, but we can see Rich is going to occupy that bottom lane with Jhin, but here in the top lane, Kyoja, he's going to be key to watch. They have the mobility on this team. They have the protection. You have Vault, you have Barrel Roll, you have Dwarf Toss, so the lockdown can be key if you can land that with ETC.
MVP Black is a team that can just explode within a second and take a kill, and this is what Fnatic has to be wary about. We already see down to the bot lane, and that Leoric went straight into this hopelessness build that we've seen a lot. And against this front line, it makes perfect sense. Against a Chen, against the Muradin, this is the perfect choice for him here.
Make no mistake about it, though. These teams are going to be focusing on the objective. They're going to be focusing on the rotations between this top and middle lane. And you're going to see there's one of the early lockdowns, but Barrel Roll is going to give him some distance. Breeze not able to land the power side, but the threat is very real, Caldor.
Oh yeah, any of these two teams can definitely pick up a kill within just seconds. The lockdown that we are seeing for Fnatic now, with Breeze of course having that ETC stun available, the Golden Prison coming in, there's a lot that they can really pull off if they for example catch Sake here. But let's face it, Sake is an incredibly careful player. It's very unlikely that happens anytime soon.
Yeah, you can see the power slide on there. It's going to just get a little bit of disruption, but Sign obviously going into that questing talent, stacking that Stormbolt, we're going to have to keep an eye on that because he's been stepping out into lanes, trying to disrupt the rotation of Fnatic right now. No key moments, no key fights just yet.
Fnatic is doing what they're supposed to do. They're rotating between the mid and the top right now. They're always trying to just get that Zul into the perfect spot. Sign, on the other hand, is always lurking in the shadows, trying to see if he can maybe pick off a kill and set something up for Sake and Merryday.
Well, we're continue to see this early rotation. Again, both these teams will play the map. Caldor, Fnatic has a history of having some of the longest games in competitive history on this map. So, but they do create fireworks. That's why I love this team.
Yeah, right now they play a very different composition from what they usually do. Although we have a bit of approach on Sign here, but immediately shut down. But what you said is obviously right. Like in the past meta, when we had all that poke meta happening, where they were relying on Tacita as a solo support and on Lunara, those games lasted 30 minutes and more. Right now, this would be the worst case scenario for them. They want to snowball it. They want to end it as early as possible.
Wubby down here, we see a little bit of a rotation on him. It's going to be really hard to kill Leoric, and even if you do, you're not going to get much value. But more importantly, Caldor, the level 4 talent from Tychus in the rhythm against this double warrior front line. You can get tremendous value to be able to stay on that minigun trait and to do serious damage.
Yeah, you definitely can. And I mean, you can already tell that when we're talking about damage and about the danger that these rotations of Fnatic face for MVP Black, they're really respecting this. They don't even try to meet the rotations since they know they would lose those early on fights. They have all the time Falset up at the top, so they just like keep their heroes in the mid lane and try to see if they maybe at some point can move down, get a kill against Leoric, or maybe even see if something at the top is possible.
The thing that I love about this map is the fact that we're nearing that 50 gem count for both teams, and that's when teams are going to start prioritizing, trying to focus on getting the turn, and that's going to force some fights that will come out eventually, but so far this rotation has kept up.
And of course, the one thing that we're looking for here is especially the first turn in for each team. We have 0 kills on the board just yet, but with both teams now attempting to turn in here in the middle, we can see that this is going to happen very soon. Fnatic is setting something up. They're trying to interrupt Saki here, who's taking quite a bit of damage already.
I look at this, and I'm thinking, right now, this is exactly what Fnatic wants. They're playing the map, they have control, they're trying to push in, they have Zool there, obviously, which is going to help them out tremendously. A little crowd surfer action there for Breeze.
I actually like that quite a bit, and the last time that we saw them play on this map, it's a talent that put him in a bit of danger when they were trying to just like isolate someone. He slid through the wall into 2 heroes, and the entire endeavor turned from let's kill Muradin real quickly into let's save Breeze. So something like this, they have to avoid it, but for now, of course, it's a great talent for him to make these early on plays.
Some interesting stuff, but level 7 has been picked up by Fnatic. MVP Black not too far behind. There's Wubby on Leoric, forced to kind of wraith walk out, but he's going to be able to drain life and force that, but here's a little bit of action, Caldor.
And Falstad barely getting out of there. And it showcases a bit what we are going to expect in this game. You have to force mistakes, and that's what they're doing right now. Shrimpy is in a bit of trouble. Aside is jumping out. Bone Prison goes down, but the Discord strike against Breeze locks him down for a moment. Aside is still a bit in trouble.
Yeah, somehow he stays alive, and that somehow it's called Muradin. We saw it yesterday. It's like the unkillable hero.
Don't remind me.
But they have their tools. I mean, you continue to look at the progression in the rhythm. The more that stacks, the more you can stay on that hero. We've already seen a couple of lockdown attempts, so the potential is there.
Yeah, the early on is definitely not looking too bad for Fnatic. The problem is that MVP Black has this tendency to just get 1 kill and all of a sudden snowball you and just so far ahead that you will never come back. And Fnatic has to be careful of that. They need to force mistakes. MVP Black is just too good to give them an opportunity to exploit. They have to force the mistake, and then they have to run with an advantage.
I kind of wonder right now, Calvin. I mean, MVP Black is one of the most confident teams. We saw it in their interview. We saw it in their video. I normally see a much more aggressive team. And right now, I don't know if it's nerves or whether they're just playing the map. They know this is Fnatic. They're going to look for opportunities later. But this is not the aggressive MVP Black that I'm used to.
It's actually a really good point, and I feel for them it's also a matter of expectations. Fnatic, as I said before, they are in the semi-final, they reached what they wanted. Everything from here on out is a bonus. They want to win this, but they don't feel the pressure that they had before. For MVP, it's completely different. They are supposed to win this, and they're supposed to make it look easy. And that's not going to happen as Fnatic is playing a very close game, but it's also, of course, a matter of composition right now.
A little bit of sneak in. The crowd is hype, and this is going to be our first round of Web Weavers going over to Fnatic.
Fnatic taking the first Web Weaver wave, getting the turn in, and let's see how much they can do with it. If they get the structures, if they get the early level 10, that would be fantastic for them. But of course, a couple of kills would go a long way here now.
A couple of kills, you get 10, you can rotate that in and really put on some pressure. We're going to see as they have landed. Remember, they land where your furthest minions are up the map, so they are directly there in the middle, and they're going to start pushing in.
Yeah, they're starting to push this in quite hard, and if they get a few structures, as you said, level 10 would be earlier for them, and they might be able to make some plays here. At this point, though, MVP Black is defending on all lanes. Down to the bottom, we are still seeing the Leoric up here to the top. We already had a bit of action with Falset, but we now see everyone moving into the mid lane with the exception of Leoric himself.
Well, the gate is down, which means plays can be made, but the Web Weavers have pretty much been cleared up as that bottom one finally goes down. Level 10 did get picked up in the meantime, though.
And of course, the first thing that we are seeing is they're already going straight for the N2. But if they get something up, they try against Rich. HGC jumps in, maybe a bit too late, but
stacked up as well for MVP Black. A little bit of a trade, but you talked about that gem count. That is the more important factor.
Exactly. 34 on Rich, who had the entire time the bot lane, but the blue team still turns in. That was great from MVP Black right now, but Fnatic, they have a lot of gems. They have a huge surplus here.
We have yet to see what is coming out from Zul. It looks like he might have been waiting to see what Chen is going to do. Is it going to be that Poison Nova? It is going to be the Skeletal Warrior. So that will come out, and we'll see how effective that is. And sometimes if you come too far in, you isolate the backline with that.
And also the combo with the Entomb, the Skeleton Warriors, trying to get that stage dive in. It didn't work perfectly for them in the last engage. I think the call might have been a bit too late for them, but there's definitely potential. But if you look at the Korean team right now, especially that Aegis gave Fnatic in the past a lot of trouble when they were trying to blow heroes up.
My only concern right now for Fnatic is the fact that as far as ranged heroes go, Tychus is pretty much it, and he's not a long-range hero like we see somebody like Falstad and Bala on the other side, but we have a potential flank coming in here. Breeze getting snipped out, though.
Nice move by Kyocha. That was an important one. If Breeze can just set up in that brush, then that spells danger. Breeze is just looking for an opportunity to maybe slide in after all. Leoric still fighting in the bot lane. Early strafe here from Sake, trying to push them back and help the Web Weaver to stay alive a bit longer and do the damage to the top lane fort.
Something we've seen a couple times now, to try and use that strafe as a threat. You can't really engage into it. It allows you to get some structure damage, sometimes because it's not a terribly long cooldown. Not a bad heroic to use there.
I'm absolutely loving the beginning of this series, to be quite frank. I mean, we are currently looking at Tomb, and in this particular case, Fnatic is really playing on the same level as MVP Black, at least up to this point.
Count I ask you a question. If I told you right now we'd be 9.5 minutes into the game and Fnatic is going toe-to-toe with MVP Black, would you believe me?
Yeah.
You would. Either way.
I have to support my region here. No, but I'm quite happy to see this. I mean, it is, as Dread has been talking a bit about already, a great map for Europe. But I know that Fnatic doesn't really feel the same confidence on this map other Europeans have. They actually value a few maps even more. And talking about maps, while we are seeing the Red Web Weavers descend again, we even saw MVP Black ban out Infernal Shrines. And Fnatic immediately stated, like, well, thanks, guys. We didn't want to play this map against you anyways, because you're much better there than we are.
It's one of their better maps for sure. But here on Tomb of the Spider Queen, Fnatic getting the second round of Web Weavers at the same time. Camp was picked up for MVP Black to try and push back this middle lane, but getting cleared up pretty quickly by Fnatic. They're looking to take down some structures and get 13.
Exactly. 13 is looming on the horizon. Of course, now we have that team fight potential again. A lot of gems on the side of MVP Black. A few kills would be incredible here, but look at Sign setting up behind Fnatic, looking for an opportunity. 3 players pushing through that mid lane now.
Yeah, they're getting that pressure on that middle lane. That fort will fall. It's a matter of what happens elsewhere, as we see Breeze up at the top, just allowing some bit of threat. Remember, he does have stage dive, so if things get crazy anywhere else, he jumps right in and really pushes.
Especially Falstad has to be so careful. 20 gems on Kyoja. That's the most gems any hero at this point in the game holds. So if he falls, that will be a severe loss for MVP Black, as both teams have their level 13 talents now ready and are once again ready for a fight.
Now that we're here at Caldor, I talked to Sake last week during opening week. He was talking about this new Vala build that was going to be coming out. He was going Death Dealer at 7. But before that, we've got a little bit of an engagement. Cleanse and the power slide had to be used there by Breeze. But this new build by Vala, he says that he had 100% success rate during scrims. And I think he's pretty confident on that hero with that build.
In general, like a bit more of a focus on the auto attacks for Vala. We have seen that through the tournament, not only from MVP Black, but also from main after practicing in Korea. So this is absolutely true what you're saying here. And it puts so much pressure on those frontline tanks. But talking about tanks and pressure.
Yeah, we see the little bit of pressure on the MVP Rich, and he's going to be locked down, but he's going to be able to walk away. Again, Fnatic doesn't have to push into this. They have 51 gems, but at the top, Kyoja getting a sneaky turn in, and they are just looking for an opportunity is Fnatic, and I am so just blown away by MVP Black's lack of aggression right now.
Yeah, they are really a team that normally tries to go for these team fights and tries to jump a target, but so far Fnatic hasn't really given them a lot of opportunity to do it. I love the sneaky turn-in though that we just saw from Kyoja. It was extremely important for him to get rid of those gems. He was holding way too many, and this is opening up a couple of plays for him. But look at Fnatic, they are so close to getting another turn-in.
Just a few more is all that they need, but they continue to put the pressure on. It's always just the threat that seems to force MVP Black just a little bit away. But now we try to get a little bit of a flank in, but Sign getting locked down.
Sign in trouble! Muradin popping his own bone prince, and it's in! Fnatic looks for the killer, there it is! Fnatic takes down Muradin and goes for the turn-in. Red Weaver wave number 3 is coming into play.
Perfect timing there, because now they're going to be able to push in, and you can see they are pushing in deep here into this middle lane. That bottom lane should fall. Leoric is there, but this is a chance for them to really stretch their lead. They now have the level 15, almost 16 advantage coming in.
I don't know about you, but it feels like someone mixed up the two team names right now. Fnatic is pushing in, and MVP Black is feeling the pressure.
They are definitely feeling the pressure. This is not a game that I am used to seeing from MVP Black. I know I've said it already, but I am just blown away by the fact that Fnatic has controlled basically this entire game, and we are 13 minutes in.
And at this point, level 16 is so close. Fnatic wants it. They're trying to get the advantage. Leoric still down at the bottom, but MVP is making a play. They're going in. 16 talent. It's finally there. There's the drill on the ground as Fnatic attempts to turn it around.
Yeah, they're trying to turn it around. They realize the threat was there. They're pushing them back, and Breeze just isolating everybody. They're going to rotate down to that bottom lane where that Web Weaver is still pretty healthy.
At this point, it looks good for Fnatic. They take that lead, and Web Weavers are still alive. The bot lane being pushed next. They want the wall. They want some additional experience here. Sign is trying to actually flank here as Meriday pauses the game. So we are going to have a quick break and where we actually can collect our thoughts a little bit. This game is spiraling out of control for the Koreans.
This is an opportunity for them. We just saw them posturing up in that bottom lane, and think about what that means. They just hit 16. It's 16 to just about almost 15. So the hardest thing for them right now is to try and stretch that lead. This is something that Tomb of the Spider Queen, if you don't take control of that, then you're going to find yourself in a 20-20 with MVP Black, and that could be much more difficult. Dread, welcome to the desk, buddy.
Dr. Dread is back.
Dread is back. We'll let him get on mic right now. But man, what an intense game so far. We've seen really good control. That's exactly what Dread was saying that they needed to do in this matchup. Dread, how you feeling?
I don't know if I'm convinced they've had enough control. They just, that pick under the Muradin during the turn-in for the Web Weavers got a lot of threat and experience advantage in favor of Fnatic. The game is looking pretty for them. But again, as this game moves on, I think that it might get a little bit slimmer, and the odds, they have opened up the map a reasonable amount, and they did a good job. They've done exactly what their composition wanted to do.
And you know, while we actually have a bit of a break here, that's one thing I definitely want to talk about. We saw it during the game in one of the small screens there. We actually have for everybody on the side of Fnatic a huge amount of support here. Like all their parents traveled over here, brothers and everyone. So I want to have a bit of a shout out from the crowd here to all of the family members of Fnatic that are currently supporting their players here.
How about every time Fnatic gets on camera, the crowd goes nuts. It's almost like a new hometown team. You know, I talked to Fnatic's manager earlier. He covered up the TIC and the F, and you know what was left in the middle? NA.
That's actually a really good point. I didn't even think about that. But it feels a little bit like after the North American teams out of the tournament, it was adopted. The Western scene is once again trying to see if maybe we can make something happen against Korea.
Korea is pretty darn dominant in just about every single esport in the world. They've had great success, I believe, across the board. StarCraft 2, obviously well known for that. But here we are, Fnatic in the lead, level 16 around the corner in this game on Tomb of the Spider Queens. They are sieging up that bottom lane right now with the Web Weaver with about 40% HP before that pause came in. In this situation, with the talent lead, in the event that they do secure that keep, Dread, is that enough momentum to really set themselves up? Because that enables the win condition, right? One more turn in. Yes, they do have almost no gems left, I believe. Maybe they've collected about 20.
I don't remember off the top of my head how many gems they actually have left.
They have 20 at this point.
20?
It's a little bit more, 22 gems for Fnatic, and on the side of MVP, we actually have nearly a full turn in. They're close.
Okay, so the problem with the situation that Fnatic is in is they do have that, what is it going to be, like a level and a quarter experience advantage. But the amount of waves that they're going to have to soak to be able to get enough for a turn-in is going to put them into a position to where MVP will hit 16, then be able to lock in the turn-in. So it's not as pretty as maybe you would want it to be, again, depending on their composition, not being able to snowball maybe as much as they wanted to in the first 13 levels of the game.
I mean, Dread, you've been actually watching the game the entire time, preparing, of course, also a couple of potential replays there. And the one thing that became pretty transparent, seeing the MVP Black signs here, is that the Koreans are actually very hesitant to engage into team fights up to this point. Does that surprise you? We talked about the composition being snowbally early, but would you have expected them to be still a little bit more aggressive than they currently are?
I mean, it all comes down to the fact that they picked a comp that they're just going to goaltend because Fnatic has the strong early game.
By the way.
As long as they wait it out, get to the back half of the game, that is when they're going to thrive. And I think they played it exactly how they should have.
All right, guys, well, we're going to throw to a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with the conclusion of Game 1 in just a bit.
The Heroes of the Storm Fall Championship is sponsored in part by Intel, T-Mobile, NVIDIA, and Republic of Gamers.
Everything that I do in my life is working towards getting on to the big stage of video gaming.
I don't want to get second place this year. Like I'm going for first. I won't be happy unless we win.
My name is Andrew Rodriguez, and I go to University of Texas at Arlington.
Daniel Lee, and I go to University of Connecticut.
My name is David Young, and I go to school at University of Tennessee, Knoxville.
My name is Michael Udall, and I go to ASU.
Heroes of the Dorm is an amateur tournament focused on college teams, playing not for prize money, but for tuition.
This is my first year competing in Heroes of the Dorm. Gaming at first was just a hobby, but now it's kind of evolved into part of my life.
I grew up in Mesa, Arizona. Gaming was definitely frowned upon.
I would think, gee, what a waste of time. You guys ought to be studying algebra or anything worthwhile.
My parents used to hate when I played, but now they're like, this is so cool, you're going to Seattle for playing a video game.
Welcome to the Heroes of the Dorm Heroic Four. Here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, 4 college teams have come to battle it out. We started over a month ago, and now we have Tennessee, UT Arlington, UConn, and Arizona State.
We all felt really good after the win, but we came here to win the whole thing, so the work's not over yet.
You don't reach that level without the dedication and the focus and the endless hours honing your craft.
It's going to take a determination and discipline, just like succeeding in anything in life.
It's intense. That's the best way to put it. Until you play the game and try to excel at it, you have no idea.
An outlet like that where students come together and share the same interests. That's what it's all about.
This was the future of esports that we imagined.
Taking a lot of damage, he blows up in a matter of seconds.
Shot low on HP, but the boy with the gun.
They are going for the core. They're going to be able to save it in time, and it goes down. GG.
Gadget Sand, the city of opportunity.
Gadget Sand, where the gangs rule the streets. Gadget Sand, full of swindlers and cheats. Zip and sing, a ring-a-ding-ding on the mean streets of Gadget Sand. Gadget Sand, where crime doesn't pay. Gadget Sand, but we do it anyway. Take on your rivals for your gang survival and the dirt that belongs to your clan. Every little kid, everyone is cricket.
Welcome to the big time, pal.
On the mean streets of Gadget Sand.
Now who's got the upper hand?
Heroes of Azeroth, I have witnessed our end. Demonic armies spilling over the horizon and onto our shores. Heed my warning. The Burning Legion has returned. Stronger, more determined than ever before. These demons seek to annihilate everything upon Azeroth. No single person can stand against the Legion alone. And so you came to me. I will deal with these intruders. No, she wouldn't. I knew we couldn't trust her!
In the end, death claims us all.
The Legion cannot be stopped. Our time is short. Now go. But remember, should you fail, all worlds will burn.
The Heroes of the Storm Fall Championship is sponsored in part by Intel, T-Mobile, NVIDIA, and Republic of Gamers.
Hi guys, I'm here with one of my favorite casters to talk to, Gillyweed. Hi. And I'm wearing heels and she's wearing flats, so we're on a little bit different levels today, but just a little bit. We're on the same level down off the stage, so this is where we get to just chat about what's going on as fans, not as part of the show. So I want to ask you, in this semifinals, what were you most excited about watching that last game?
Well, so far what I like seeing is that Fnatic has been playing their own game. They're on Tomb, somewhere where we have seen some amazing strategies from them just in their European regionals. And I like that we've seen them really capitalize on their wave clear, pushing lanes into towers, and bringing it to MVP Black. Not playing scared, playing their own game, and maybe even getting a little bit ahead. And I hope they'll be able to carry that in.
Yeah, you mentioned that this is a comfortable draft for them and also kind of a specialty map for them. But I'm wondering if they do manage to perform very well on this specialty map, do you think that means that they have what it takes to take it forward, or is this kind of the only place they could hold against MVP Black?
Well, getting a win at the very beginning of the series would be very important to them. They know that they are the underdogs, and at least if they have the win, then they have that momentum to carry them forward into the next game. And then, since it's their map pick, they can hopefully then know that they'll get to their next map pick and try to do the same strategy once again.
The thing that's kind of won me over about Fnatic is that they have this attitude of refusing to live up to the underestimation of everyone else. They kind of are in these games, and I just see them kind of dig in their heels and be like, we shall not lose, even though it looks like they are. So for me, that's been really inspiring to watch. Is that something that you see as a characteristic of them, or is that something that's just happening here at BlizzCon, do you think?
I think that that has way more developed at this event specifically for them, and I think that that attitude and their improvement throughout this event and throughout this year is what has made people come around to them and become such fans. I know there are a ton of Fnatic fans out in the audience. There are MVP Black fans too. Yeah. By the way, you guys' sign game has been on point. Like seriously, I see one that says, "In Mary Day We Trust." Hilarious. I love the signs.
There have been some amazing ones, and there are a lot of people out here also cheering for MVP Black. A lot of times we see kind of a European NA focus from cheering here at BlizzCon simply because of the regional focus of a lot of the people that are here. But I've noticed there are so many people traveling to watch MVP Black and other teams that are very, very far away. And I know that there are really good stories for MVP Black as well that are kind of tugging at my heartstrings that you shared with me. What makes you want to root for MVP Black?
MVP Black were not able to play at BlizzCon last year after being taken out by TNL in the Super League, and it was this huge upset. And that was kind of a defining moment for them in that they realized we have to never underestimate a team ever again, because we don't get to go to BlizzCon now. And BlizzCon for Blizzard fans, for Blizzard players, is the pinnacle of competition. And so yes, they won the Spring Global Championship, but their eyes were always fixed forward on BlizzCon. They were just like, yes, we won this, but we want to win BlizzCon. And now they are a step away from getting to go to the grand finals. And so for me, it kind of does feel like it's MVP Black's tournament.
Absolutely, and there's so much that goes into making an esports team sustainable, and winning is one of those things. So I think sometimes we can easily forget that if we don't see our favorite team win a match, like, oh, bummer, we go about our lives. But for them, a lot rides on their ability to perform and make that a sustainable career that way. So I think maybe that pressure might even be higher in some place like Korea, do you think?
Yeah, I think the pressure is most on MVP Black out of our 4 remaining teams at this tournament, because Ballistics have come in, they're a newer team, they just reformed at the Super League, whereas MVP Black has the longest running roster at this point. They have been all 5 together for this entire year, starting with the Spring Super League. So knowing that BlizzCon is the one thing left for them puts a lot of pressure on their shoulders.
I know that we actually are able to go back to the desk right now, but I would be remiss if I didn't spend a moment just kind of talking about the feels with you before we throw it back to them, because there's so much story-wise for their teams, but there's also so much story-wise for us here at BlizzCon, something that has meant so much to us and the family that we come to see every year. So tell us a little bit about how you're feeling as you look forward to casting the finals and being here on the Heroes stage at BlizzCon.
Well, feels is like I've almost cried a couple of times, a few times today, just because this BlizzCon means so much to me, and we have shared many awesome memories together at BlizzCons in the past. It used to be on my bucket list as a person just to get to attend a BlizzCon someday, and now this is my second time commentating at it, and it is an amazing experience. The fans, the community of Heroes of the Storm, and Blizzard games in general is unreal. You guys are amazing. You guys at home are fantastic. I love you so much. Thank you for supporting Heroes. Thank you for supporting us.
Yes, actually, I have had so many people tell me how the Heroes of the Storm fans are some of the loudest, craziest, nerding outingest fans, and we appreciate you so much. So on that note, we're going to nerd out by the stage, but commentators, take us back into the games.
We're just going to jump right on and make some noise. We're resuming game number 1 between MVP and Fnatic. Kaldor Jayhow, take it away.
Well, Kaldor, we already saw the progression that we see from Fnatic being able to move their way into the game, but Fnatic is down in the bottom lane and they're trying to put some pressure on.
Ladies and gentlemen, down to the bottom, we're picking it up here once again. Fnatic is pushing in. The European team, make some noise for Fnatic!
Kaldor there executing this flawlessly. That is exactly what I wanted to see. Get what you came for, steal their camp, rotate out, and continue to dominate with map control. The fact that you're able to dominate with that map control, if those web weavers do get turned in, as Dredd said, you find yourself on an even talent tier by MVP Black, then all of a sudden you find yourself with that map control, because all that MVP will be doing is trying to push back those lanes.
MVP is looking for 16. We're seeing Fnatic going in, but look at this. All of a sudden from the side, it's Silent Bones and tries to get maybe a kill, but he doesn't have the dwarf impact yet. He can't go for the stun. Fnatic still trying to disengage here, but Korea follows it up. They want to go for Wooby, who gets the Ancestral.
The early Ancestral we saw trying to zone that out with the Entomb. It didn't quite work, but they still found themselves able to get out of there because level 16 was picked up by MVP Black, making this a much different fight. Wow.
Level 16 is there, and immediately we're seeing, of course, Dwarf impact going straight in. And I mean, the Dwarf jumps in right away, tries to get Breeze. He just barely gets out of there. And this would have been a completely different fight if they had 16 already, and the heavy impact stun could have gone through.
Yeah, they're turning that around. Sign's going to be looking for that heavy impact land. He just missed it on Tychus, and look, the minute they go on that for the rest of the team to collapse, that is where MVP Black shines, but we could have a potential fight. But Web Weavers were turned in.
Oh, the blue Webbies are turned in, but Sign is in trouble. He jumps out, he stuns on Tychus, but we have an immediate cleanse happening. Look at Rex is low, Rex is down. Fnatic takes the kill.
The Entomb is there, but the Mighty Gust pushes them away. Mary Day is stuck in there. They're trying to focus fire. They're staying on him. The chase continues.
The Web Weavers are coming down, but Fnatic is smelling blood in the water. They're trying to go for it. The Web Weavers are not doing anything at this point.
This is the part that Fnatic needed to take control of, but the fact that they pushed up those lanes, but Kaldor, we want to take a second look at this.
Just look at this fight here, Rich. He is immediately drained. He goes down, and that is the moment when Fnatic moves in. What a perfect Entomb, but Meride is able in the situation to even get away. Great play from both sides, and Korea is still fighting. They're still in this.
Kaldor, the number one thing we talked about was frontline control. That drain life from Leoric against those warriors is huge, but also that in the rhythm that's been building up, they also went with that's the stuff, and so you're going to see huge priority by staying in that fight for Tychus to be able to take down those frontline heroes.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, we're talking about that frontline pressure in general. You have the Tychus, you have the Drain Hope, and there is so much. Sign missing the Stormbolt, very uncharacteristic. A great dodge by Wooby.
I love the fact that we saw a little bit of crowd surfer action again. Yeah. It's like, you're coming in for the stun, I'm just going to scoot right over this wall. Obviously something we don't see hugely at level 4, but the fact that they're expecting that dive, it allows a little bit more plays to be made.
And what just happened here is that MVP Black didn't get any value whatsoever out of the turn. Yes, they pushed lanes back a little bit, but they didn't even threaten structures. Fnatic with that kill against Chen was able to just completely shut them down, and now they are looking for another turn in themselves.
Yeah, MVP Black needs to try and get a turn in before before level 20 is picked up. So this is a huge moment. This is a very tense moment for both these teams as he dives in the back line. We see the cleanses there. Wubby trying to get up, does go down, and that is the follow-up that we see from MVP Black.
MVP Black playing this perfect right now. They actually have the gem count. They are going to get another turn in here, and this is a lot more dangerous for Fnatic now. Of course, Leoric is going to be back, but still, this is MVP. They are trying now to snowball this and to finally take control of the game.
Yeah, this gives them huge potential to be able to get this on even footing by the time level 20 is here, but it also allows them to try and make some plays. Look, all 3 forts were standing, at least momentarily, for Fnatic, so right now MVP Black needs to try and put pressure on those structures.
And of course, with Vala, we see that focused attention again onto the auto attacks on level 16 with the Manticore even. They want to pressure Booby, they want to pressure, especially of course Breeze on his ETC, and you can really show it working.
It is working very well, and they continue to put the pressure on. This is the build that they're talking about. They really want to put the pressure on that front line, stack up those hatred stacks, and really burst down.
And MVP Black, they're starting to move in. They're trying to make their play. They're trying to get the structures. They go through the wall, they go through the towers. And of course, that advantage that Europe had, that Fnatic had in experience, it's shrinking. It's only half a level, JL.
The fact that they've been able to get these structures down, the threat of these forts going down again, will put this on even footing. They had quite a few extra gems, but not enough aside. Barely missing there because Breeze power sliding out once again.
Breeze has played some fantastic games, not only yesterday, but also today. He is really on fire, but this time he gets done, the Discord strike, but the cleanse is ready. Smexy once again on point, probably the most improved player on this roster this year.
Think about what we've seen, the progression from Smexy that you just talked about. From summer, it really allowed him to shine, to now he is one of the best supports in the world by far, and it's plays like that that keep his team alive and in the game.
We talked to him just a few days ago about it, and he said that at some point he was well aware that he was the weakest link in the roster. He was even afraid of being kicked. By now he's really one of the pillars of Fnatic. He's always there. He always has that cleanse for you, that ancestral. But look at Kyoja. He flies in. They go for Schwimpy. Schwimpy in trouble. What a play attempt by MVP, but Fnatic is attempting to turn it around.
It almost was like you're in a little bit too deep. There's still one cannon firing back at them. They realize it's so close to 20. They don't necessarily need to risk this, but Caldor, gem count on the side of Fnatic. If they can get 20 and that turn in, they might be able to get the first keep of the game down.
And of course, MVP knows it as well. They're setting up Sign apparently again with problems, but that flying that we just had there from Fortset already showcasing once more that they are now all of a sudden willing to make these plays. It was a risk, you talked about it, but if they get the kill against Trimby there on Azul, then this can all snowball against them. The 20, it's so close now.
It's kind of crazy that you hop onto Azul, who doesn't have the type of mobility that you want, but I think he did go backlash at level 1, which allows him to have a little bit of a shield and do some damage in there, and they couldn't really push onto it, and at the same time, they were directly under fire, and Rhaegar was right there to help.
And of course, while we have to deal with a few of the technical difficulties here, the one thing that you have to also keep in mind is that for the players, this just means calm down, don't get affected by it. Just sit there, wait your turn, and focus on the game. Don't lose that focus, because we are 20 versus 20 in just a few seconds, and the turn-in is on the line.
So you say calm down, but when it comes to Fnatic, aren't they a team that really rides that momentum you get in the zone?
I mean, historically speaking, that was actually one of their problems a little bit, because they always tended to go into these fights way too deep. They didn't really watch the talents, for example. They would engage into a 15 versus 16 level fight and lose it, but they calmed down a lot. But I don't think that it's really a problem for them to get hyped, especially not with someone like Breeze and Shrimpy on the team.
If you guys don't know, Breeze is the loudest player in the world when it comes to Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah, I actually heard his favorite hero is Kel'Thas, I think.
Yeah, no, it's definitely Kel'Thas. This game has been pretty much as expected. You saw the map manipulation composition versus the team fight focus, if you will, of MVP Black. We saw Fnatic get a little bit of an early snowball. They weren't able to totally capitalize with 16 talent tier advantage, and now the game is shifting into the momentum. Structurally, a little bit of an advantage of Fnatic. Experience almost sitting at dead even. This is the point of the game where if I'm Fnatic, I never wanted it to happen, and I'm sitting at it, and I'm afraid that they're gonna have to pull something out crazy. I think it's gonna be MVP getting a little bit too aggressive over a Leoric pick is where, if they're gonna be able to turn around this game, I think it's gonna happen. But right now, MVP is in full control of this game now.
I actually think that the next Webweaver wave is gonna determine a lot. If Fnatic gets the turn, and they have to ride the momentum wave hard. What do you think?
It's gonna be a fight. It's gonna be a fight over those two turning points. Regardless of what you see in the next few moments, there's gonna be one fight that will define the end of this this game, and it will potentially win the game for one of those teams. If Fnatic wins it, that middle keep is already low. Think about that frontline control, though. If Leoric does get to level 20, it does tend to lend to his advantage.
That is true.
And so there's a lot on the line for both these teams, but MVP like starting to put the pressure on.
I mean, in the immediate scenario, I think we do have MVP forced to stall. I think Gust has about 30 seconds left on the cooldown. I'm not sure if that's something we can check, but when it boils down to it, without Mighty Gust, they do have that small vulnerability because of the missed gank attempt in the mid lane on Schwimpy on that Zool. As a result, if they can find that turn, it could be really nice here for Fnatic.
And let's not forget that there's also still the boss available. So if you win a team fight right now, if you can make that happen, you could potentially even end the game. If you're Fnatic, you get the turn in, you get the boss, and then you can just like push it in. At the same note though, if MVP on the other hand wins that one fight, then they can just like open up the map, they can take the boss. They have a lot of options if they are able to win this fight.
Well, that last web we return in did actually get at least, what, 2 keep walls? Not all 3, but they've really opened up that win condition if they were to take a five-man team fight. Jay, how looking at level 20 though, you're talking about the power of Leoric. Is that, I mean, yes, Spectral League, we talk about all the different options they have available for the hero to become super invulnerable, especially against something like Chen. Beyond that, what are the other big level 20 talents to think of?
I think just the threat of Leoric and Tychus alone is enough. I mean, we already saw nobody's health bar, like when your name is Chen, goes down that fast. Now the thing is that Sign has been looking for heroes like Tychus, like Zool, to be able to hop onto them, to use that heavy impact that he picked up at 16. That allows their entire team, and if you've never watched MVP Black before, they will pick a target and collapse on one hero, and that hero will be deleted. And it's a matter of them for Sake to be able to keep up his hatred stack, stuff like that, to be able to do that burst damage with that Death Dealer down at level 7.
I'm actually a little bit scared for Fnatic when it comes to level 20s, because we have a lot of heroes on the side of MVP Black that will get a significant power spike, especially against the composition that Fnatic is running here. Just thinking, for example, about Vala heading into an auto attack build like the entire game already. And so far, there wasn't really too much pressure on Vala, so he isn't really forced to go into the Far-Fly Quiller and go for the extra distance. He can go full damage, and that means that Breeze and also Wubi at the front line on their ETC and Leoric are going to fall in HP so fast. They can't stay there. They have to make this immediate jump. Guys, we fight right now, or they have to back. They can't posture around anymore.
Well, we are ready to jump on back into the game, so take it away, Kaldor and Jayhal.
As we're heading back into the game, it's all about the level 20, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, Fnatic, they have it, they have the extra talent, and they are looking for an opportunity and the turn-in.
This is a huge point of contention, as we already see Breeze using that power slide just to get distance to try and get the turn-in. He does get it. That power slide through that allowed him to get that turn-in safely. That was crazy.
Incredibly well done, but Wubi is in trouble. The Ancestral Healing goes through, and Tomb on Sake. Sake is in trouble. The Aegis is in. Here comes Breeze jumping in, going deep. They get the kill.
This is huge. A side goes down too, and they're continuing to put the pressure on. They have the web weavers, and this is the moment that we talked about to be able to push in. This keep is going to go down, and it's going to be a matter of how much aggression Fnatic wants to put out right now.
Fnatic gets the double kill. They get the web weavers. They want to go for it right now. This is not a fight for a keep. This is the fight for the game.
Wubby is in there. The keep is going down quickly. Mighty Gust is still available. That can buy time, but the web weavers are starting to push in. The keep is going down, Kaldor.
30 seconds on Vala, 30 seconds on Muradin. The Gust is out. MVP Black is trying to buy time. What is Fnatic doing? Are they going for the finish? They are really low on 3 heroes already, but they're starting to push in. They decide against it and move up to the top.
They cannot go for the kill just yet, but they did get the keep, and that is crucial. They're rotating up. They still have 10 seconds before Vala is back up. They do have Entomb that is available if they can isolate somebody and get a pick, a second keep in potential game. But right now, being very hesitant is Fnatic, and rightfully so.
A lot of hesitation on the side of Fnatic. A faster rotation up to the top lane would have allowed them to get the second keep. It doesn't happen. They don't take boss. They don't take keep number 2. They were thinking about going for the core, but then the Gust happens. They take a lot of damage through the poke, and Fnatic decides to back off. All they got from a double kill and the turn-in is the keep in the mid lane and damage at the remaining structures.
A lot of times we'll see teams that'll rotate off of that. Look at this. They're using Fog of War to their advantage in a close moment there by MVP Black.
It was of no consequence, but this was an absolutely incredible move there. Using the Fog of War, using the vision, laying traps that we usually only see from China.
The thing about that was Kyocha down on Falstad in that bottom lane was showing the rest of the team started to rotate up for the threat of that boss, and they ended up getting sniffed out, but they're going to continue to put it on it. They're going all in right now.
We have Wooby and we have also Breeze trying to block a little bit. They're trying to sneak the boss here. They are actually going for the risky play. This thing is known as to be a throw pit. It's the original throw pit. They're moving in, but MVP Black doesn't see it coming.
They don't. That boss is going to be huge to push in that top lane. Sign is coming up. Breeze isolating that out. That is a boss for Fnatic. This is huge right now, Caldor.
They are getting it. Yeah, no, yes. They get the boss. They get the boss. The fight is starting immediately to start off Fnatic. As we see everybody going in. The Exodus goes down. But Smexy is dead.
Smexy is dead, and they're continuing to put the pressure on. As Quagnix is the next to fall. 2 members are dead. Wubby trying to take anybody down, but Leor goes down, and this is a huge moment for MVP Black.
It's a triple kill against Fnatic. This might be the end. Falstad flies in. They're trying to end the game. The boss is already at the top lane. MVP Black is racing it.
This is huge right now. You still have ETC and you still have Zul, and they are able to defend this. They're pushing in hard right now. That boss, this is all in, or they have to back. They're trying to get the keep. Look for them to get the keep and possibly back. But the posture right now, this is huge, Caldor.
Half HP on the boss. MVP. They go for Schwimpi. Kyoja is already on the core. The stage dive dodge. They are fighting as much as they can. 7 more seconds until the Oregon's going to be back. But we are seeing a potential kill against Schwimpi. MVP Black is on their way to victory.
The core race is there. Falstad goes down. 50%. They're staying high. It's going down. MVP Black is 2%.
It's on 30%. What's going on here? Rich. It's over.
What a match! Game number 1! Dramatic ending! This is insane!
Absolutely crazy. They crossed the map. They have won game number 1 against MVP Black. The European team is taking the lead.
They are marching to victory. Game number 1, Fnatic. Nobody expected this. Game number 1, this is unbelievable! Down goes the core!
And the game is over. The crowd goes wild. GG!
There you have it. That is the sign of victory in game number 1. The crowd is going bananas right now.
I am dying here. What a game. I can't believe this. They get the boss, but MVP Black, they go for it and they say, no, we don't defend it. Finish it. And Fnatic, they're ready for it. They defend the core and turn the game around.
How about Breeze making the plays on ETC? The pressure was on, guys. That was unreal.
Unbelievable. I don't know how Fnatic delivers these games. I lost my voice just cheering up here on the stage off mic because, my goodness, Fnatic knows how to deliver. Oh, where to start? The boss, the risky play to go for the boss, showing 3 members, just saying, look, hey, we're not there, hey, we're not there. We have 3 members. We're not trying to throw all of our damage. The ultimate trick, but they scouted it out. Rich got there milliseconds too late to get on the point of that boss. They had the Mighty Gust, and it was literally just down to the smallest margin of them not losing that boss.
I was dying watching it. I cannot imagine how they actually feel playing this game. Unbelievable.
Well, I'm sure we've got some ridiculous replays, so Dreadnought, just take it away, man.
We're going to start with the one fight that determines the entire game. It's going to be the boss decision-making on the side of Fnatic at the very back half of the game. If we can get into that in a moment, maybe we'll figure There we go. All right, so context here is this is a game point at this point. Europe has done a very good job, Fnatic specifically, zoning MVP Black off of this. Boss control is not going to be under their favor because of the Gust coming into play. And as you said, Rich is diving in, trying to get on as fast as he can. Quacknix is trying to body block himself to get him off to the channel point. The Gust comes into play too late from Kyocha on that rotation, and this is where everything gets really rough. Wubby was zoning. He entombs to try and block anybody through this entrance. And he does a decent amount of zoning tools right there. But Sake comes in. He has a huge strength onto multiple targets. Kyocha gets the Aegis. He's going to be able to keep himself up. Wubby is now left as a sacrifice, and they do end up picking that boss up, which we saw lead to them winning the game. But the reason MVP was in such a panic at that point, is if they back out, they don't have any opening of a win condition. That is the struggle of Tomb of the Spider Queen, is you have boss and you have web weavers only if you have like one keep down, because they don't build a huge guy that just ends the game right away, and like you see on a couple of other maps.
Well, I think that was about as good of a game number one we could have ever asked for. And this is a best of 5 series. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and when we get back, we'll be going to Sky Temple for game number 2.
The Heroes of the Storm Fall Championship is sponsored in part by Intel, T-Mobile, NVIDIA, and Republic of Gamers.
Systems online. Commence hero upgrade. Hero upgrade complete.
Hail to the Queen.
New battleground detected. New hero arrival.
The Queen of Blades. This should be fun. Don't worry, I'll make this quick.
Having fun yet?
Please, you had best be joking. Oh, you really don't seem to be up to this task, do you? Oops. I expected so much more.
Do you ever shut up?
Yes! Finally a challenge!
Sombra, it's on you now.
I'm all over it.
See the full animated short at playoverwatch.com. Heroes of the Storm. Prepare for Heroes Brawl, the new game mode that breaks all the rules. Rated T for teen.
The Master has been gone for so very long. I anticipate his return in every gust. It's maddening. Whatever is one to do to pass the I've gone and made a mess. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. Our unannounced visitors. Preparations must be made, for the Master will return to Karazhan soon.
The Heroes of the Storm Fall Championship is sponsored in part by Intel, T-Mobile, NVIDIA, and Republic of Gamers.
Against all odds, not only has Fnatic taken game number 1, but they are here going deep into the draft already. Boys, break it down.
At this point, to be quite honest, 4 more games like the one that we just saw, and they have to keep an ambulance nearby for the end of the match because I am dying here, and I'm loving the draft already for game number 2 on Sky Temple.
I think the thing when I look at this draft right away is first pick Brightwing actually came out from Fnatic. That denies it from Mary Day. We've seen MVP Black during that Super League. That was something that they picked every time they played Sky Temple.
The real thing to look at here is we know where MVP Black is going to be moving into things.
The crowd is quacking.
We're giving it the quack.
I love it.
So having the Li Ming into the Brightwing struggles into Li Ming because she can't deal with the large amount of poke as long as you're effective around the map objective. We do see the Murden picked up for MVP Black. It is by far the best warrior and preferred map. Fnatic has a lot of what they want across the board. The Brightwing prioritization, though, is a major adjustment coming out from them, and I think that's with prediction into things like possible tracers from Kyocha.
And while we're waiting here for the next pick, I want to give a huge shout out to this crowd. You guys are amazing.
I love the energy right now, but Dread, one of the things that I see as a counter towards that Tracer is the potential polymorph with the power side. It's tough to execute, but it's also very, very dangerous. You still have to have somebody with big damage to back that up.
The one thing that I really like currently what we're seeing for Fnatic's draft here, I mean, we talked a bit about like MVP Black, and Dread, of course, really loves that pickup so far, but what I really like is that current combo that we have with Brightwing and Falstad. The mobility game that we've seen from Fnatic overall throughout the tournament is fantastic, and having ETC with a potential stage dive in there as well, they can collapse on an opponent, and this is exactly the type of game they are trying to play here. And if I really think they can make something happen here if the rest of the drafts goes their way.
Okay, so things we have to talk about here on the side of MVP. Yes, they do need a global, but I was going to ask, who do you think Rich will be playing?
Abathur.
Zeratul here.
No, they go with the Karazim. That is something that is very rare to see pop up here. I view it's going to be a 7-sided at this point, just with the Zeratul, get the isolation, moving into 7-sided.
We had it once already. We had once already the Karazim pick for the 7-sided with exactly that isolation that you were just touching upon. And they can also like try to use Zeratul with the Void Prison to just shut down these plays of Fnatic. But I could even see, if they want to go full out, I can see Fnatic even with a Dehaka here. They did it before and they can do it again.
I want to touch on something you actually mentioned during the first draft was how Sylvanas sometimes makes their way into the draft. The last time we saw a similar comp like this was Sylvanas. It was a few months back. So the potential is there, but Dehaka is making his way back in. Triple global.
Quad
and if you go stage dive, quad global.
God, I like this.
I'm very torn on that rotation for MVP Black. The Zeratul Karazim is something we haven't seen in a very long time. It obviously can be effective at points, but it doesn't fit to their strengths. They lock in the Abathur as the last pick. It doesn't fit into a lot of their strengths as a team. I feel like when looking at Fnatic, they were blatantly concentrating onto working around the map, but you are on Sky Temple 1 where you're bound to get those skirmishes that you want so heavily, and it really feels like they put a lot into Rich specifically in this draft.
One of the things that I have to point out, though, is that Abathur helps them in the sense that for Fnatic, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to jump on an isolated target on the map and try to get it. Abathur himself, as we see in the science, is a hero that in this case will not move out too much to get those split soak experience because there's so many globals out there. But they like this style. They play that a lot.
Abathur likes to get aggressive on maps. It likes to hide in bushes. You have Brightwing, Falstad, Dehaka, and Dehaka will spring up on you. I think Kyocha's play is going to be key on how aggressive he can be with his Abathur placement.
A lot of good clone targets, a lot of good hat targets. Definitely a draft built around Rich here for MVP Black, but this is a different style. I was really expecting something more aligned to the Olarak. We saw a lot of success there with Rich in opening week, but Fnatic, they are riding that momentum in this situation. Their draft is global. Sky Temple, global presence is essential and powerful, and with those snap rotations on the temples, it's going to be scary.
I don't really believe that I'm going to say this, but with the draft that we have here and what I've seen Fnatic do with this hero setup, I'm going to say it again. They're going to take it. They're definitely going to take it.
You still holding that sign high?
I just held it because it looked cool.
Oh, he's backing out. Are you backing out? Are you backing out of MVP?
I just held it because it looked cool.
So you're saying that you're backing out of the MVP vote here, moving in the second game. I want to hear it. I don't want to hear this.
Lights on.
It's out. Lights out, says Jay How. Dreadnought, how you feeling?
Fnatic got their favorite map, their home territory, the exact playstyle they wanted, and they were barely able to do it. And in my opinion, if they had been there half a second earlier, they lose that game. I don't like the risk that the Kharazim Zeratul rotation was on the side of MVP Black, but they chose this map. They, I think, are the stronger team fighting team, and this map won't allow for that abuse that we see outside of Fnatic. I'm going MVP.
I'm still feeling Fnatic myself for this match, but of course, MVP Black largely considered to be the #1 team in the world. They're getting ready for this match. We're just about to begin, but remember, this is a best-of-5 series. We are far from done, and we have another semifinals best-of-5 following this series.
I mean, the one thing that we definitely have to say about this, as I said, I like the comp for Fnatic. They practice this a lot. They are very comfortable on Sky Temple. But MVP Black on an individual level is just simply better. There's no doubting that. Not even Fnatic players will dispute that at all. The mechanical level here is insane. And if they can make these plays happen, especially with the Zeratul Abathar comp, if they can get isolated targets, then that's going to be a massive problem for Fnatic.
All right, guys, we'll make some noise. We're going into game #2 between Fnatic and MVP.
All right, Caldor, game #2. Nobody expected Fnatic to be up 1-0, but here we go with MVP Black on the left side one more time. Kyoja going to be on Abathar, Mary Day on Kharazim, Rich, the one to look out for on Zeratul, Sake on Li Ming, and Sign on Murd. And give it up for MVP Black.
And to the right side of the map, the European team with Briggs once again on the TC. Quacknix on Falstad, Smexy on Brightwing, Whoopi on Dehaka, and Shrimpy on Greymane. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Fnatic!
All right, we already see a little bit of aggression. The positioning by Whoopi, instantly going in that bush, looking for anybody to rotate. We saw Falstad fly up to get vision. We can see that they are already making use of their globals just a few seconds in. Their rotations, I think, are going to be the key to their victory.
Fnatic right now, they have to be aggressive here. We have seen so many plays on this map in particular where the globals were just enabling a team to get those isolated picks on the map, and this is what they have to do. They need to try to get a kill, but you can already tell that Rich is waiting for just such an attempt, and as soon as Abathar jumps on him with that symbiote, heroes and players like Quacknix are going to be in trouble.
I love the patience right now out of Quacknix. They don't need to take any risk early game. They have rotational advantage. They have decent wave clear. They can get through this map and do okay. So I love the positioning. They've got to be very careful as we see MVP Black already taking an aggressive posture, far different from last game.
And let's not forget one thing here. We talked a lot about psychology the entire time, and that Fnatic is a team that, when put under pressure, tends to play a bit worse than they do when they are in their comfort zone. And that is especially true when they are playing on stage. Going into this best-of-5 series, they were saying, we reached everything that we wanted. We're fine. We can do whatever we want. As soon as they realize, boys, we can win this. We got this. This is the moment when they really have to show their real game, because that will be when the pressure is once again collapsing onto them.
We saw Dehaka yesterday, played fantastically, and it's one of those moments to where, as we see Quacknix already having Rich all over him, but it's one of those moments where if Dehaka's positioning can get to that back line, be able to get Li Ming, the collapse of somebody like Greymane onto that target could be huge.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're just looking at the heroes also that they have here, the Falstad played by Quacknix, he's also one of the players that we normally see on Greymane, of course, and this time it's Shrimpy who jumps on the hero. They have a lot of explosive potentially for a kill, but right now, as we have the objective on the map, we see Dehaka using the wave clear at the bot lane, trying to put pressure onto Kyoja in the bot lane, but they lose out on the mid temple for now.
For what it's worth, they got the ammo completely depleted from those two cannons, at least for the time being. If they can get that in, remember, if they can put that down. But Rich rotating down, looking to join the fight. Wubby, he's going to have to eat a little bit of damage right now. And that actually might be a little too much damage.
Yeah, that could be a problem, but he gets away, moves straight into the middle, and they're finding a target. Look at that. All of a sudden, Rich barely getting out of there. Once more, we're having a huge fight starting here with Avatar helping out as much as he can. Quackly's in a bit of trouble as Breeze is zoning for the rest of the team.
How'd you like that use of Vorpal Blade right there, Caldor?
That was pretty decent. Like, you don't see such a long distance Vorpal Blade any day.
Well, that's the power. If you guys are wondering what happened there, he used his Brush Stalker, disappeared, but Vorpal Blade picked up a level 4 for Zeratul, allows him to teleport back to the last target. He had auto attacks, so a little bit of sneakiness going on.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy there. I mean, like, that is the most long distance Vorpal Blade that I have ever seen in competitive Heroes.
It kind of threw me for a loop. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, that's right. But either way, both these teams, we see the temples are still being fired by MVP Black, getting some type of structure advantage with that. As you can see, one cannon down, second one next to fall.
Yeah, cute plays here so far already, but once again, we're having most of those temple shots ending up in the favor of MVP Black, and this is a map where structural advantages are incredibly important since the objective attacks structures directly. So you try to take down as many of these towers and forts as you possibly can to make sure that with laid-down objectives, you can pressure keeps and maybe even the core.
I love this instant pressure. They're instantly getting down here, getting damage on that and taking that well. I always say this, that second temple phase, because it's that bottom temple, if you have the advantage to be able to go back and tap well and re-engage, that's in your favor. But if that well's gone, it's a lot more difficult.
You're putting this perfectly. This well is huge. Killing the fountain here and making sure that the opponent doesn't have the sustain that you have. Once that second temple comes into play, is a massive advantage. And it's something that Fnatic worked for here with leaving the Haka at the bot lane, putting the pressure in, and now keeping this rotation up. And all the way up at the top, the Haka is pushing in again. That wave clear that we have on him is something that Abathur right now cannot match.
It's this huge moment. I mean, they're taking huge advantage of their globals and the abilities that are for them and the level 1 talent for Dahaka that allows him to get that push. But vision going to be regained here by Rich.
At the same time, though, MVP not giving Fnatic the opportunity to go for isolated targets. And Rich is doing pretty decent with the pressure that he executes, especially since Abathur is helping him out all the time. Wubby attacked, goes for a bit of counter damage, and moves back as Abathur joins the battle.
A little bit of essence goes a long way for Dahaka, and to be able to get that, that's huge. But now we see the Giants were picked up in the bottom lane, but up at the top, this is one of the moments because that bottom temple about to spawn, Caldor, that camp going to be pushing in the top lane.
And the timing here, of course, once more for the night camp is exactly what they need here. So first of all, we're going to see an attempt of Fnatic to shut down the night camp of MVP Black. If that happens and they get their own pushing, they can easily jump down to the bottom. This is where all these globals really get the value. This is where they excel at. And we even have a push at the bot lane thanks to the Siege Giants. The timings are just crisper for Fnatic right now.
It forces a response. They're down here clearing out the Siege camp, and as you said, up in the top, they're going to continue to get rid of the enemy, the MVP Black push. They're going to be able to get down. That's the power of the globals, and that's why we see the priority on the timing that you just talked about. This is great execution right now by Fnatic.
Zeratul is all the way up at the top because they realize they can't just simply leave Abathur there to deal with this. We already have Brightwing jumping down. Quacknik's in a bit of trouble, but keep in mind, Dahaka can always join this battle. Right now, Fnatic is actually not in control of the temple. They need to make that move.
Yeah, we see Wubby, he's just waiting for the opportunity. He's trying to get everybody soak he can to try and get closer to 10. But now the fact that they're controlling those temple shots means that they're going to be able to take down that fort, and they're going to push their way to 10. But the rotation now, looking to catch somebody out as MVP Black.
They're playing a lot with the vision right now. MVP Black is keeping a lot of their heroes hidden in bushes, just trying to soak the experience here because they want Fnatic to be afraid. But Fnatic has that bottom temple. They take the fort, they have level 10, and they still see Dahaka at the top lane soaking extra XP.
Dahaka, it looks like he's posturing up to hide a little bit in the top as we look at the minimap. He's trying to get out of there. Let's hope he doesn't get caught. They don't find him. So, great awareness by Fnatic, great map execution so far, neutralizing what we would think would be the advantage for MVP Black.
And so much respect from both teams. It's a little bit reminiscent of the beginning of the first game that we had here. But of course, now that level 10 is in play for both these teams, it's a bit of a change in pace. And just check out ETC here. He actually went into the mosh pit. Oftentimes here we see the stage dive, but Breeze wants to have the mosh pit against the opponent, despite Li Ming, of course, immediately going into the wave of force.
The thing about it is, if you can catch Li Ming or you can catch the timing on that. It's not a long cooldown, but it's long enough for you to get good value out of that. Sometimes it can even just disrupt. And against this composition, Zeratul won't be around when you have your stage dive. Abathur isn't technically there. So I like the pickup of Mosh Pit here.
And of course, there's pressure on MVP right now. They have a strong composition here. This is all coming down to really just the first few fights, seeing who is going to take the lead here. Can Fnatic exploit the globals that they have? So once again, they can ambush a target, but they can also, in the later stage of the team, simply out-rotate. MVP knows it, and they're going for the fight.
They are, but the immediate disengagement. We have a five-person void prison. Counter, this is huge.
This is massive. They're going for it, but look at Side. Side is in trouble. The Haka saving himself. Breeze with a bit of a zoning mosh, but as all of us see, he encourages him going in straight for the seven-sided. Both teams disengaged, but Breeze is still not out of trouble.
How tough is that when you get a five-person void prison and do not have the follow-up to secure the kill? Right now, that seems to be working in Fnatic's favor. That was a very tense moment.
And it saved them as well. We saw the Haka going in for the Lick, and at the same time, there's immediately a Mighty Gust, the isolation attempt, but then the Void Prism. That was the play they needed. And I mean, a 5-man Void Prism right there. That was the moment when Fnatic was looking at them and was like, oh, this is not going our way here.
That's not something you see very often at all. But the next temple phase is up, Caldor. Middle and bottom, not this top and bottom where we see the heavy priority for that bottom one. But with 13 approaching for Fnatic, do we look for them to soak and then maybe re-engage? Right now, it seems like they have the map at their control. Really curious what they're going to do with it.
Information is really what they need at this point. And one thing that is actually a bit of a problem is that the watchtower up at the top lane is under the control of MVP Black. They just simply know more at this point. But Fnatic know that they're close to 13, so they go for the bot temple. And look at the minimap. Structural advantage. I talked about it early on. And right now, you can see that Fnatic is ahead when it comes to the fort count.
They're about to have all three forts down as they soak that bottom temple, and they're also soaking other lanes, but it looks like Rich, who's having to use the blink to get out of the way, but Wubby comes over, he does land the taunt, he gets caught out, and Rich goes down!
Fnatic with the first blood here!
That is why Dahaka is such a threat. You blink away, don't worry. I'm going to brush talker right in here. That was a perfect tongue landed there by Wubby.
I wouldn't have bet a penny on him landing this after Zeratul was already walking away. He still got it, and this is the first kill. That opens up space for them. It opens up the map. They can push. They immediately invade the Siege Giant camp. They steal it away from MVP Black as the Korean team just now picks up level 13.
Well, we see Breeze and team rotating down. They have the Siege Camp. In comes Brightwing. They're going to have double Siege Camps pushing here momentarily. Even if they can get just a little bit of structure damage, that goes huge to the point that you said. Those temples are what can win you the game by doing structure damage.
And MVP Black right now, they need to make their play. Down here at the bot lane, there's Rich. Rich is moving in. Here comes Falstad, the Void Prison. Could anytime be dropped here. Rich moving out once more as Fnatic starts to disengage. And you can really tell that MVP Black is feeling the pressure.
I think Fnatic felt a little bit of pressure. They realized they're on the bridge of death right there. They said, hey, get down here. We got to have somebody save us just in case. So being able to disengage there, huge for Fnatic. But as you said, structure control fully in their favor.
We talked a lot about vision. We talked a lot about trying to just like hide the positioning of your heroes from the opponent. And this is also something where especially Abathur comes again into play. You try to get as much information as you possibly can. And his job really is to just place those toxic nets everywhere, especially around the boss area, so that they immediately know when Fnatic is making a move there so that they can react. And so far, Kyoja has done a very good job with this.
It seems like despite that, when you can basically phase shift around it, fly over it, brush talk around some of that stuff, you still get good control out of that, but they also have ways to avoid it, which is pretty cool for Fnatic.
It's also one of the reasons why Abathur on level 4 actually picked up Ballisto Sports, because he just said, I need to have that global right there, and he is using that throughout the entire game. He knows those spots and rotations. You're of course perfectly right mentioning the globals here. You can circumvent it to a certain extent, but you can't dodge them all.
You can't dodge them all, but we're seeing a priority towards the camps, and at this moment, MVP Black starting to catch up a little bit in terms of experience, but Caldor, we have to expect the next temple phase is soon, and what is also soon is level 16 for Fnatic.
Yeah, level 16 is going to be an incredibly important talent for them. Also, Korea on 16 is going to get a huge spike once again. Survivability is already pretty huge for a lot of their heroes. The Soma transference, especially on the side of Abathur, is helping with that, but you can make so many plays place once that you have the impact, heavy impact on Muradin. And this is something that I'm really afraid of when I'm looking at this setup right now, since MVP Black is just playing fantastic plays with us Muradin in the stuns, and this is something that Fnatic has to be afraid of.
All right, you threw the word out there in the last game, the throw pit. Now, this is top and bottom temple. The boss obviously being much closer to the bottom one. You have Void Prison that can really do a lot there, but at the same time, Fnatic has all kinds of tools at their disposal. They're going to try and show on the map, but right now, first temple being channeled by MVP Black.
Fnatic is starting to take over the vision here, and that's an important move. Sign is there, he gets stunned, gets pushed back. Fnatic not looking for a fight yet, they're disengaging here. They have Wubby at the bot lane, as time right now is working in their favor since they are already pressuring keeps.
This might just be a simple trade right now. Fnatic doesn't have to take this fight. 16 was picked up by MVP Black, and they're just going to try and show on the map, continue the soak, and try and get that advantage. But as you said, it's starting to push into those keep areas, that keep wall you see on the top being pressured by that temple.
Yeah, by now we have also Circle of Life picked up by Meriday here. That's going to help a lot in these fights. We're seeing Greymane with Executioner on 16. And finally we have the heavy impact. This is really one of those playmaker talents that Muradin can rely upon. And he's looking for it. Schwimpy is in trouble. Jumps in, jumps out, gets followed once again. Rich wants him and he takes him down.
Yeah, Rich making all the use of his Vorpal Blade and his Blink abilities. And this is why he is the most dangerous melee assassin in the world. It doesn't matter what heroes he is on, he will make plays like that.
Yeah, and Rich is doing a whole lot here. So far, he's just looking for these opportunities. But we have to stress again that the bottom keep is destroyed. It's gone. MVP Black will have a constant problem in the bot lane right now, since it's going to push against their core throughout the entire match. This is especially going to become a problem if there's only a top temple. But them going for boss, that's a huge play right there.
This is a huge play, and Fnatic does not see this. At the same time, they already baited out the Mighty Gus, and they are completely clueless right now. MVP Black just taking control.
I'm pretty sure that Fnatic is actually really well aware that boss was attacked, but they look at this, they say like, Greymane is dead, Gust is gone. If we move in right now and they start to approach us and they start to fight, we could lose way more than just the boss here. So they are probably just saying, you know what, let the boss go. We soak with the Haka at the top lane, and then we defend as 5 once that Greymane and also the Mighty Gust cooldown.
Yeah, less of a risk. I think you're exactly right there, as we see a little bit of a pre-shield, actually not shield there, but we see the blink in, the phase shift in. They're going to defend against this boss. We're going to see how much value they can get out of it. Dahaka, he is back and has joined the fight.
Also nicely timed here from MVP with that siege camp that they have pushing at the bot lane. They're doing an exceptional job here, and they have caught up in experience. Not only that, they actually are ahead right now. They won't give a key here, at least they shouldn't. Maybe if they get a kill, but they already moved back. They have a lot of respect here, and they are saying, guys, don't risk it. Move back and try to play the map for now.
Think about how big of a moment this is about to be. Both teams level 18. Only one temple on the map.
Oh, the move at the bot lane. Wubby gets attacked. Snexy tries to help MVP with a place. There comes the 7th sign, and then it's dodged completely. Fnatic is moving in.
The isolation onto the clone there, but now we have the huge BP. A couple members caught in. Mighty Gusting away. They're looking for the follow-up. They have to ignore the clone. They can't get the kill. That was the Abathur clone, so if you're wondering why they didn't focus that, that's not a huge priority right there.
VP has been burned. So many cooldowns are not there just yet, but look at Quacknix barely getting away there. The temple is still all the way up at the top, untouched so far. And I want to stress it again, these globals are going to have a huge impact on this game. Fnatic can at any point decide to play around the opponent instead of looking for fights.
Think about how much of a threat a backdoor is going to be by the time level 20 comes around. That's huge. Brightwing can come into a target, Falstad can fly there. Obviously, Dahaka has a little bit of a walk to go, so that's going to always be the threat, but we see that Dwarf Toss with a heavy impact. They're turning on it, Caldor.
Sign! He's trying to escape. Fnatic, do they get the kill? Sign is safe. What a play by Meriday. What a play from It's the kill. Quacknix with the play. The double kill. They get the double kill. And Fnatic is once again ahead in the game.
That ice block was unbelievable. It dodged the skill shot there by Li Ming. They're now pushing in, and this is going to be the threat of another keep as they're continuing to push in. They're going to grab a kill. Actually, okay.
They go for a kill against. They tried to actually move in and get something done in the mid lane. They abandoned the temple at the top. It looks like they decided to go for the core instead.
Target
they have 30 seconds. Abathur is only one of the heroes that is alive, so that's 3 against them. They're trying to finish the game, Jay.
This is crazy.
Thinking about it. They were thinking about going for the temple. They go for the Meriden, Rich gets out, and Fnatic has not a lot of time left.
That Void Prison is huge, and now we see just barely avoiding that Arcane Orb. This is a huge mistake right now by Fnatic, but furthermore, huge plays being made by MVP Black, and now this is so much more even.
Fnatic showing nerves. They thought they could go for the core. Maybe they thought that Void Prison is still on cooldown, but Rich buys time, and now they still have to fight for that top temple. They were trying to go for it, but they realized we can't make it happen. Meriden comes back, the stuns are too much. We have to go back, and now they're going to lose their top key. Fnatic. This indecisiveness could cost them the game.
This is huge. I mean, you can look at this moment. If they end up losing, this could be the deciding factor, but they're posturing up in the bottom. Remember, the backdoor threat is always real, and they're posturing up. Again, there's the fly-in. Do we have a Mighty Guts target? They don't. They isolate Sake. They're going in the power slide. He's somehow still alive, and Sake gets away.
And they are also trying to turn it on once again against Side. The mosh pit! The mosh pit! They go for it. Side goes for the avatar. Meriden is alive. He's still alive, and he dies. Meriden is dead, and Meriden is the next target.
He gets pulled in. Meriden somehow still alive. We do see the blink in, and they're trying to stay alive, but with Meriden down, this is a huge moment. Once again, they're posturing up on the core, Caldor.
JL, what's going on here? Fnatic is 1-0 in the series. They're looking again for the core, but the Void Prison is there. It's a former Void Prison, but Karasym is dead. Karasym is dead, and Fnatic is not done yet.
The Siege Giants are there. Swimpy just dodges that attack as we see the clone target is on Li Ming. Wubby taking a few shots, and they're continuing to put the pressure on. Wubby trying to get away, does manage to get out of there, but this is a huge moment once again for Fnatic.
5 kills against 1. Fnatic with 5 kills against 1 on the side of MVP. They're moving back. They take the walls down for the vision. They need to go back to their core as well. Rich is there. The kill against Living. What is happening?
Shields are going down though, Caldor. I'm not sure how much damage it's going to be. 78% catapults are on it. They have now backed. Remember, they still have globals to be able to get, but Rich is all over Breeze. Brightwing coming in.
Rich with incredible plays. They were trying to deny the payback. They were trying to deny it, but it cost them Li Ming. Was it worth it? We're going to find out soon enough, because with no 2 heroes dead, Fnatic is going for boss. There is no keep at their bot lane. This boss could end the game.
2 heroes are down. Ultimate Evolution still 5 seconds away. They're going to have to try and make plays. The boss isn't going to be leased. They're still attacking it. That is huge for them. Remember, Karasym is not there. They're all over the balls, Caldor.
Breeze is on the way. Breeze is coming, but Meriden is back to business as well. The boss about to fall. They're jumping in. They go for the boss. It's still there. Breeze with a mosh pit.
The mosh pit is there. Meriden goes down. Meriden next to fall.
Kyota is eliminated. They all fall, and this is Fnatic again on their way to victory. They go to the core. The boss is there. 20 versus 20. JL, what is happening in the series?
The march to the core is happening. Fnatic coming down. In comes the boss, and this is going to be game number 2. Somehow going to Fnatic.
Void Prison is still there. Rich is going to look for their play. Can he make it happen though? The shields are down. It's a kill against Saraton. Rich is dead. No Void Prison. No chance. This is it.
GG! Fnatic, a 2-0 lead in this best of 5 on MVP Black.
Unbelievable. 2-0. Euro is 2-0 against Korea.
Oh my goodness! That game says everything about this tournament. Fnatic makes a risky call. They go for the core. Bit of indecision. The VP save. In that moment, there were big plays on all sides. Breeze with a power slide to stop that VP from being dropped and the orb hitting. The defense could have been risky there, but in the end, Fnatic still clutched it out.
They misjudged the core attempt. They go for the core, and then they realize we can't do it. And then even the damage on their own core. Rich goes in, drops the Void Prison. At the same time, they get the kill against Karasym. That game is incredible.
I don't have, I genuinely don't have words. I was in the back trying to find a replay, and I was like, no, this one. We're gonna cut this one, and then instantly they're like going for corner. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're gonna throw it. We need this one, and then it was like, wait a minute, they're backing out. We're good. Oh, they're trying to stop the, like, it literally could not choose a replay. Like, I have the most boring replay for how insane that game was because I never got the time to cut it. I'm sorry.
Do we even want to look at it?
Yeah, we should. We can look at it, but it is not nearly as cool as that game was. All right, so right out the gates, this is a huge void coming out of here in this game. The combo coming out as well over the wall, a reasonable amount of damage. One thing I do want to point out here is that Smexy is about to, and this Brightwing over here, is going to get a really good cleanse onto the ETC as he's going to get on the withdrawal, saving his team. Nobody ends up dying. So right here, Breeze is in a rough spot. Beautiful pre-cleanse, onto Wubby, saves his life, and that was a really awesome play. Another pick that was a huge momentum swing for MVP Black on the bottom half of the map here with the use of his Vorpal Blade. Great polymorph from Smex to try and keep him up, but it didn't matter, and he ended up going down. So those were my lame replays. We have another one that was pretty cool to look at. Which is the very end fight. We do get that one, the cool boss fight, but that was my only first two ones here. So yeah, the boss fight. Already, MVP Black at the beginning of this, obviously being a man down there in a very rough position. They don't have the Void Prison up for 15 more seconds. Boss control is heavily in favor of Fnatic, and really it's just going to be an awesome fight there. The drag directly off the point. He's still going to be able to get onto it. The seven-sided strike and the mosh pit there coming out from Breeze secures the kills onto everybody and gives Fnatic the win here in this absurdly tense game.
Well, thank you, Dreadnought, and what an intense game number 2. Fnatic, they are currently up 2-0. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we return, we're going to see if Fnatic can close it out or if MVP can bring it back.
The Heroes of the Storm Fall Championship is sponsored in part by Intel, T-Mobile, NVIDIA, and Republic of Gamers.
Gadget Sand, the city of opportunity.
Gadget Sand, where the gangs rule the streets. Gadget Sand, full of swindlers and cheats. Set the sail, you're ring-a-ding-ding on the mean streets of Gadget Sand. Gadget Sand, where crime doesn't pay. Gadget Sand, but we do it anyway. Take on your rivals for your game survival and the turf that belongs to your clan. Everywhere looking, everyone's working.
Welcome to the big time, pal!
On the mean streets of Gadget Sand.
Now who's got the upper hand?
Another round.
What's in a name? Well, that depends on what you do with it. Put it out there. Get good with it. Like, really good. Get it on a team. Get it on a big monthly check. Make your whole city know it. Check that. The whole world. Get it on the back of a champion.
That's your name.
Better yet, become a champion. What's in a name? Well, that's up to you.
The Heroes of the Storm Fall Championship is sponsored in part by Intel, T-Mobile, NVIDIA, and Republic of Gamers.
We hope you're enjoying the action as much as we are, because we are not slowing down. Let's break down this draft so far. What do you even say so far? Abathur and Medivh? Towers of Doom? Now, Abathur is something that they do like to play on Towers of Doom. Are they going to go all in on a Tracer? Are we going to see Stitches? I have no idea what to expect right now.
Dread, what do you think about them globals?
The globals are definitely something that Fnatic obviously has had a large amount of success for. It complements the map. Granted, Medivh is an absolutely terrifying hero when it comes to the map. Abathur kind of is going to be a pseudo-global as well for MVP. The fact that those are stacked together in their draft, though, kind of puts them at a slightly limited DPS. Even with Master's Touch completed, Medivh isn't necessarily the best when it comes to DPS.
We just went from Dehaka to Dehaka being banned. Dehaka just got banned against Fnatic. That's a target ban right there. They don't want to deal with this anymore.
Fnatic has been first picking ETC for the last couple of days. We see that banned out right away. Dehaka banned out. I mean, how many times have I ever said that MVP Black was being bodied in a draft? And I think the first two drafts, Fnatic has won them, especially game number 1.
That ban on ETC, I love that. For MVP Black, this is exactly what they need to come back into this. Try to take a couple of the comfort picks away from Fnatic. But right now, MVP Black, they still have the Mirrodin, which is huge for them. And denying ETC to Breeze, another great ban here by them. Fnatic will have to draft around this a little bit. And now they have to showcase that versatility that we've been talking about a lot.
I'm really just torn on the Medivh Abathur being on the same composition right now for MVP. They go with the Greymane. He's going to be able to obviously do a large amount of damage getting a clone. Rhaegar is going to be the support for him. But MVP Black, their composition is kind of a alternative to an old school approach. It's very successful on Towers of Doom, but Fnatic has been so good with their globals, and it doesn't hurt this map either.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this map was picked by Fnatic, yes?
That was actually a major talking point I wanted to bring up. Yeah, you're right. They ended up picking this map. Fnatic chose to go to Towers of Doom. Fnatic's success rate on this map is one of the lowest out of all the other teams here. They've only had mixed success in Europe. In MVP Black, it's without like one of their biggest ones. It's one of their best maps, right?
I have breaking news, by the way. This just in during the break. Now, Caldor made a bet with some guys from Fnatic if they won something, they would shave their head. No, let me finish. Caldor on the break said that if Fnatic wins, he will grow hair. Oh!
I don't remember that. Maybe if they win the tournament, then we can talk about it.
All right, to give you an example and context of how important this Towers of Doom game, I mean, just in the past, how important it is that 80% win rate for MVP Black when it comes to this map. They're 2-0 against L5. It is one of their most picked maps overall, whereas when looking at Fnatic, they have mid-tier success when it comes to their win rate, and even when looking up to the top of Europe, they actually struggle more than they succeed. So the fact that they volunteered into it, it is something I can find it surprising.
All right, so we've got Towers of Doom as the map, but let's look at this draft.
Yeah.
How do these fare up? Because yes, Medivh with that Abathur, far from being common, but you throw that kind of utility onto a hero like Greymane to really enable that playmaker, Rich. Rich is the kind of player that can carry a team to victory, and it looks like they are banking on that once more.
But the thing is that when you go in with Greymane, you have a lot of utility on the side. Once level 10 Sanctification, you've got shields from Tyrael, you've got blinds from Johanna, and the ever-fearful Polymorph from Brightwing. That can really hurt. That's going to rely, I think, on the Toxic Nest, which are huge on this map because it's basically 2 lanes straight up and down, and then you have the clone target. Those are what you're relying on.
I'm really a little bit afraid what Medivh can do in this game. I mean, we've seen Korean teams on Medivh, and they are absolutely fantastic with him.
Rich.
I actually think that in this, it's actually Rich. Rich is signed up for
really
Medivh.
good on Medivh, by the way.
Like overall, it's really just like that Medivh play with a portal. You can do so much on this map, and this is something that can throw you off guard completely. So I'm a little bit afraid for Fnatic going into this. Also, since they don't have one of the CC tanks, that was a very smart move by MVP Black. I really think this is them just starting to completely adapt to the opponent and saying like, okay, we have to take this serious.
You've had to adapt pretty hard.
Yeah.
Jared, you've studied Korea, everyone extensively for a long, long time. And when you look at this composition of MVP Black, does it look like they're trying to go wild, try to change up their style, try to find something new? Or does this look like the standard, they're just changing the pace?
It's a little bit of both. It's a lot of the comfort picks that they like to pick historically, especially on this map, with an old school strategy and just a little bit of a modern twist onto it, if you will. Whereas Fnatic sits at a small, more adaptive, fitting the comforts of having their globals and then adapting according to what they expect coming out from MVP Black. But to be honest, I have no idea where my heart lies when it comes to the success of either one of these compositions versus the other, because again, MVP is playing that very historic, we know what we can expect to see, and Fnatic is a little bit different, a little bit of adjustments, but playing to, again, what they have been so good at in these first 2 games against MVP.
I think this is going to be the toughest match for Fnatic by far. I mean, on the second map with the draft that they had, I said right away, okay, this is what they want. They can make this happen. The first map caters also a little bit more towards Europe, even though, again, they still say it's not their best map there. But this I'm very afraid of. Towers of Doom, first of all, and then the Medivh. They are going to struggle here.
All right, guys. Well, it's time to make some noise. Game number 3 on Towers of Doom is about to begin.
Caldor. If this becomes a 3-0, this will be the biggest upset in history, but they are on game number 3 on Towers of Doom. And once again, on the left, it's going to be MVP Black in blue, Kyoja on Abathur, Mary Day on Rhaegar, Rich on Medivh. What's he going to do on that hero? Sake on Greymane, and Sign on Murd.
And I cannot really believe that I am saying this right now, but leading with a 2-0 against MVP Black all the way to the right, we have Fnatic! Schmippy's on the Tigers, we have Quacknix on Falstad, Whoopi on Tyrael, Smaxy on Brightwing, and Breeze on Johanna, as both teams immediately jump into the mid lane for the first brawl.
Yeah, they're trying to get those stacks up, especially Quacknix with that hammering going in. And you got to think that the rotation advantage plus the wave clear is going to favor a lot of what Fnatic wants to do. So we'll see how they can play that. I mean, they have a couple of tough targets to try and catch out. It's going to be up to them to try and get Falstad and or Brightwing into a fight to get a few early picks.
Fnatic already played this map against the Korean team, and it was a very close match for sure. And they said later on that they're actually confident going into towers. They say, okay, we can still make this happen. But I'm afraid of the Medivh there. The plays that Black can pull off are incredible. And I feel right now they really are going to come out guns blazing, saying, we are not going to fall here without even winning a single map.
I really just want to see Fnatic try and be the aggressor early on before Master's Touch gets there at level 7 for Medivh. They don't have a ton of damage. Also, Abathur, once he doesn't have his clone until level 10. So there's a lot I think you can take advantage of if you're Fnatic in the early game.
Breeze with a block on level 1, also of course catering a little bit to the composition that we're seeing on the side of MVP Black, and massive focus on Greymane for them right now. It's really about enabling him going into this with a lightning shield, having the Ancestral ready, those cleanses and Abathur, and let's not forget about, of course, Medivh, who is always going to try and just throw out that panic button whenever Greymane is in trouble.
Well, we see Wubby up in the top lane. He's going to be soaking. Once Tyrael can join a fight, obviously it changes the dynamic pretty heavily. But we are 25 seconds away from the first altar phase. That's going to be 3, Caldor.
First and fifth altar face always 3 altars that we see on the map, and this is where globals again come into play. In the later stages, even more important than now, but you can see that at the bot lane. Brightwing is the one they leave behind because they're fully aware that they can move top. But Whoopi finds himself in a bit of trouble. There comes the portal, and Whoopi barely escapes the onslaught of MVP Black.
We see a lot of heavy priority towards teams that will now focus on the bottom and then rotate up to the top to defend the one that's on their side, and they recognize that. But Brightwing, as you said, will be able to come in. And
Rich is down! Kill number 1 for Fnatic!
Now Sign is under assault as well. He's going to try and get out, but down goes Sign. 2 kills there, and 2 altars are going to be going over to Fnatic.
That must have been one hell of a power breakfast for Fnatic. These guys are absolutely on fire. Immediately we have Fawcett flying down for the experience, and they're grabbing that second altar.
Talk about making good use of the globals. The rest of the team rotated up. They saved the flight, as you talked about. Brightwing stayed phase shifted in, and the minute they rotated that down. So look at that. A full level lead, 2 kills, and they also have core damage advantage, 36-32.
Now, it doesn't really shock me that Fnatic was able to pick up both of the altars. If you're actually looking at their composition, they were supposed to. Once you have, at the beginning of the match, the triple altar with the globals, you have an advantage there. But MVP Black aggressively trying to push for 2 altars, going a bit too deep, staying too long. Fnatic exploiting the situation, and that experience loss that we saw on the side of MVP Black hurts them more than the 4 points against their core.
I want to talk a lot about what I saw, and as we see a little bit of a Stormbolt come in there, Iron Skin has to be used. They're trying to disrupt that. The fly up by Quacknix, they're going to rotate up and just continue the soak. But I want to point out one thing in particular, because Breeze was actually the first person I saw do this against Medivh. We saw ADRD, who used a lot of it at the summer regionals for Europe. You have these warriors that can pull people off of the portal, so the condemn time when that portal comes down is huge to pull them off to try and prioritize the target.
Absolutely true, and we've seen Breeze has played on another level at this tournament, especially when we saw the games that they played against previous opponents like Zero. They always, like, you go back to Fnatic and the first thing they say is like, Breeze played out of this mind today. Now he has to prove it on Johanna, but you're totally right. He's the one who can make these plays happen. So if he can make sure that those portals are not going to be that safe haven that MVP Black is expecting them to be, that would go a long way. But MVP Black, they are trying desperately to go for a kill and get ahead.
Yeah, they just hit level 7 and right in time. We're 15 seconds away from the next altar spawn. It's just going to be a single altar, so not as detrimental if MVP Black can't get it. Obviously, Abathur is going to try and get value out of soaking in that top lane, but we'll be under assault there.
I just can absolutely not believe what we are seeing here. Best of 5 and Fnatic is 2-0. If this was a best of 3, it would be all over already. But we are in the semis and we are fighting over the next objective. Quacknix eating a lot of damage there. Sign is looking for an opportunity to maybe make a play, but already the Iron Skin popped on Brace as he moves in.
He is, and we see Rich continuing to be very aggressive, getting huge amounts of stacks already with Master's Touch, and that's where the damage spike will come in when he completes that. But we do see them going in, and now Rich caught out, but the portal is going to be there, not able to pull him off.
The portal is there, but it could also be another altar as Smexy goes for the channel. Oh, Rich with a play attempt. That was a close call. They were expecting him to be there, and Fnatic picks up another altar on the map.
That was so close right there, and continuing to be aggressive right now. Sake under a little bit of pressure, but Mary Day with the heals, and Rich continuing to be very aggressive with his portals.
Fnatic was always hailed as a momentum-based team, and if anybody doubted that until today, they are currently learning differently because they are really running the show right now.
They are in no hesitation. This is what I think I needed to see. It's something that we see Ballistics do to other teams. There's zero hesitation. The minute something is done, the minute a fight is done, objective is done, there's zero hesitation to rotate up. And right now, we see all these plays from the Globals. Falstad flying up immediately.
But MVP, they go straight for the camp, they steal it away, they need to make those plays. We've seen them shaken in this series already. They're going for Breeze again, but the Iron Skill cooldown was ready, and he moves out. The Korean team are starting to put the pressure onto the bot lane. They know it's really their game. They need to win this now, or they are out of the tournament.
If this is a slow grind, then they've already done a little bit of damage to that bottom bell tower. Again, that gives you more shots when you do get those altars, so look for that to be a priority throughout the game. But Caldor, level 10 on the doorstep.
Level 10 is so close for both of the teams, and of course we're waiting for the next altars to be announced here, but 10 is going to be a massive game changer as well. We will see Quacknix again with that mighty gust. He made a lot of plays throughout the last few games, but of course it's also about that Muradin, this unkillable frontline that you just can't master. This is why we have Tychus in the game right now. He needs to be the one to pressure that frontline.
4 members from MVP Black are here. They are going to be going with Ley Line Seal for look for plays to be made. But both teams, next altar phase again, one single altar, but level 10 now. Things are about to get a lot more exciting.
Once we go into these team fights, we have to watch out for Wubui, for Tyrael. He needs to have his ult ready. That sanctification can win them an entire fight.
Well, Breeze is on that front line. He's going to be managed. They're trying to get vision on all these toxic nests. Obviously, Peekaboo, that talent there for Brightwing, keeping an eye on things.
Abathur playing very, very safe, not moving out. He knows that a force set could fly in any moment, but at this point, it's all about the altar. Down here at that bot line, MVP Black is down to 28 points on the core against 36. Whoopi is going for that channel, but the interrupt is going to be ready.
Yeah, just kind of wait and use that elixir when it's needed. I don't think this is going to be a poke war. There's going to be a fight that's about to break out. Sanctification is going to be used.
Nice. They use
That's
the
one way to do it.
They drop it and say, like, you know what? We don't care. There's the sank. But MVP Black sees an opportunity. They try to go in. Breeze is a bit isolated. The drill is on the ground, and they're trying to move back, and they save all of their team members. Also, thanks to a gust that we see from Falstad.
I think the crowd liked that one.
I think they did.
Sanctification used. Of course, you are invulnerable. You can't be attacked. And Kaldor, 24 to 36 in core damage in favor of Fnatic.
Fnatic, they want to snowball this a little bit. They want to make this really fast. Right now, MVP, they go straight for another camp. And I have to once again say, one player that impressed me on the side of MVP, especially in the last game, was Meriday. Such an impressive performance here, how he saved opponents. He sacrificed himself several times, but especially how he was able to keep the front line alive. That was huge. He's going to be looking for a few plays here now too. And again, MVP Black with the push as 4 at that bot lane.
It seems like they recognize that with that rotation up by Fnatic, they're countering against them by going in, getting the camp. And as I said, if this is a long, drawn-out game, these types of rotations will eventually force rotations out. And despite the fact that there's a core advantage, MVP Black still has a little bit of experience.
They have more experience right now. They also took the fort at the bot lane. They are playing a good game when it comes to that. They need to, of course, make sure that they are catching the objectives then later on. But right now, MVP Black is putting a lot of pressure on the map, and that's what you have to do against Fnatic.
You know what I want to see out of Fnatic is the fact that every time they rotate it out, but wait a minute, it's Sign coming into that back line. The portal is there. Rich continuing to put the pressure on. As we're going to have Sappers coming in. I'll get back to that point in a minute, because right now, Pumpkin Sappers a little bit behind, but you can see the pressure from MVP pushing in. Those Sappers, if they get to that line cattle, is core damage.
Yeah, if they get the core damage in here, that would be huge. If they can escort the camp, they're trying to do that. This is why we're currently seeing Fnatic posturing around down here. We have Bobby actually still up at the top. The altars are going to be active in another 20 minutes. The Sappers are being attacked. Breeze all the way up to the front. They take all of them down. Whoopi still in the middle. He's soaking 2 lanes right now. It's all about 13 when we're coming to the next big fight.
I think the big thing that I wanted to see, because we already saw that pressure every time that we saw Fnatic rotate out, MVP Black would put in the pressure on the camps at the bottom. But Ley Line Seal
at the top lane, they're going in. Breeze is trying to escape here. The copy, of course, on the Greymane with Kyoja. Sign jumps in, gets the Stormbolt, and immediate cleanse. Good job on the side of Smexy, but they still need to go for those altars. The fight, Jeho, is not over.
It's not over indeed. Breeze on that back line, continuing to anchor for his team, keeping an eye on that altar before the clone goes down. Now look for Fnatic to re-engage. Smexy, of course, taking down that altar, or that bell tower allows him to get those extra shots, but here we go again.
The portal is down, but look at me deep. Rich escapes so close. Sign gets the ancestor, and they're trying to turn around. Bobby's all of a sudden in trouble. It drops immediately on sanctification, just as the mighty gust is being used to save him here. MVP Black is starting to move in again for altar number 2.
This is a tough spot for Fnatic to be in. They can't really pressure too much. Look for them to regroup. A lot of heroics are down, and there's Meriday continuing to put on, but in comes Fnatic once again.
Fnatic tries to push them back. This is our altar. No ground will be healed. They go for it. They try the channel, but the portal is in once again. They're attempting to interrupt it. Sign is at the front. What a battle, and they get it.
They are in control of the core damage, 20 to 31 in favor of Fnatic, and this is a huge moment for them to continue to put the pressure on. It seems like MVP Black has more than their hands full.
They definitely do. Fnatic is giving the favorite a run for their money, and at this point, it's Fnatic who is really dictating the entire series. MVP Black, they were set for the finals. Everybody expected Korea versus Korea. The Koreans were so confident coming into this, and Fnatic, they just play their their style right now. They reached the semifinal and they said, this is it. Everything that happens from here now is a bonus. If we can beat the Koreans, so better. But right now, they are actually the ones who are so far ahead in the entire series. They could make it in 3-0 against Korea.
This is insane right now. The next altar phase, it's going to be one more. Caldor after this is going to be the 3 altar phase. And you think about any type of control. You get extra shots. You get the boss. This could be a huge moment if Fnatic can win a team fight to be able to roll this over and potentially have a huge advantage after the next one.
They're taking the cap down here. And I mean, JR, at this point, the 13 alone is at least guaranteeing survivability for Muradin, who picked up the healing static, of course. 16 is for both teams. And massive talent. That's what they're working towards now. But another scrimmage down here at the bottom, where all of a sudden Mehdi finds himself in trouble. Rich actually does not have an easy game. As good as he is, as mechanical as he is a player, he is struggling against Fnatic.
My mistake on the altar call-out, that was actually the portal in the middle that was spawning. We now have our 3 altar phase right now, and this is going to be a huge point of contention, especially when we talk about the globals plus the use of sanctification. We already saw MVP Black can't afford to keep giving up multiple altars at a time.
And that actually must scare you if you're MVP Black, that you know that your opponent, when you are even lower in the points on the core, can at any point get won by simply using sanctification. It has to scare the hell out of them right now. MVP Black is looking to open up a fight as Fnatic is attempting the channel.
Yeah, there goes one. After they grab the one on the top left, Tyrael is getting the one at the top right. Now comes the huge point of contention because this is a single altar. Leyline Seal does catch 2 members.
Yeah, Shrimpy is in trouble. We're seeing them moving in. 6 seconds until Freeze has the blessed shield. But Kyoja is going deep on the clone as Meriday is attempting to get the channel through in the back. Whoopi interrupts him once again as Fnatic is trying to collect the entire team again to move in once more.
They are going in. They're continuing to be aggressive. They have the interrupt, but Tyrael is very low. Sanctification keeps him alive. Slayar is keeping the heal.
Greymane is dead. Greymane is down. Fnatic take him on and they push it in. The sanctification of Whoopi, fantastic.
They are dominating these team fights and miraculously have a huge lead right now. It's up to them. Are they going to just settle with these 4 shots, or will they try and get a camp and get another shot? I feel like it's better safe right now.
They are so close to 16. Look at Rich. Rich, he's being attacked as Fnatic was already expecting that move. Smexy and Quacknix just waiting at the portal, but Whoopi is still securing their next 4 shots fired. 12 against 27. Ladies and gentlemen, Fnatic is on the prowl.
This is not what I expected at all, but the experience level 16, almost 16 for MVP Black. What you have to expect. Wow, when you have to Mighty Gust the Medivh, that shows how much of a threat Rich is on any hero. But right now, Fnatic is in a huge position to take down MVP Black. This is crazy right now.
Fnatic was joking all morning, the entire time. They knew how much of an underdog they were going into the series. But this looks like MVP Black is the underdog. They turned everything around. And MVP Black, think about this team that came here. They wanted to win BlizzCon. Think about the stress that they are currently experiencing. The nerves that they are showing right now. They are sitting there and they realize if they do not win here, and they're far behind, they will be out of the tournament. And this is completely against everything that they expected to happen in this match.
Well, we see a rotation up right now. MVP Black coming in. The portal is there. Drones was already used. Sanctification is faded out. This does not look good.
Whoopi is low. He's waiting for the cooldown. But Whoopi goes down. 16 versus 16 at this point. And we are seeing an attempt for boss on the side of MVP.
Yeah, they got that kill and they were able to push in. But an instant response from Fnatic to try and get some control of the map. They're going to have to give up these shots. There's nothing they can do.
This was the first kill that we saw on the side of MVP Black.
It's the fact that it's 16 minutes into the game, level 17, and that's their first kill is just crazy as we see Rich under assault. He's made himself a little bit invulnerable, but now we see Sign joining the fray.
What a great play here by MVP. It was an attack against Rich and they turned it around. The lane line seal is down. They're going for Shrimpy and Quacknix with the perfect Mighty Gust. It's not over just yet. Smexy jumps out, but here comes Sign.
The heavy impact is in. Johanna bringing them in. Ice Block has been used. Smexy is out. The drill is down, doing some damage. Fnatic just trying to get out alive.
Tyrael in the middle right now. The altar. Meriday is getting the channel. Tyrael not so much so far, but the copy is down. It's 5 versus 4. Abathur only able to help out with the symbiote now.
It's all he's got left. The clone target is down. Sanctification is back up now, Caldor, and we already saw what they can do with it. Let's see if they pop it here. They're halfway channeled.
Breeze, one of the best tanks in the world, is making his way forward now. The portal is set. They're going for the interrupt. It's another 27 seconds until Abathur has his copy back up again. And of course, Fnatic is willing to fight.
They are willing to fight. Heavy impact is there. Wobby on the backside, forced to use sanctification alone. They're posturing up to fight though.
Sign is split. He needs to go back. He eats another big shot from Falstad. He's really low. Wobby gets healed once more. 7 seconds until Abathur has the copy back. Fnatic is struggling to claim this altar.
It seems like I had a little bit of mispositioning on that Tyrael. Now all of a sudden we've got ourselves another fight on our hands. We're going to see how this plays out. They're targeting Rich.
Big play here from Quacknix, but he risks too much. He risks too much. He goes over with a barrel and gets eliminated. Fnatic has to back off, and MVP Black is gaining momentum.
Somehow Rich stayed alive, and he's continuing to be aggressive. His leyline seal is there. Kyocha on that clone, just the threat alone. Caldor, we have ourselves a game as it's now 15-12 in core damage.
Fnatic right now has to really just calm the game down just a little bit. Wait for Falstad to come back. They have to calm their nerves. Yes, Korea gains momentum here. They're starting to really equalize the damage points on the core, but Fnatic has to play this calm and collected. They've shown through 2 games already and this third that they can compete with MVP Black, but the Koreans, they really want to start a snowball here.
The tension is in the air. Right now, these teams, 18-18, 15-12, it is anybody's game, and it feels like this could hinge on one team fight, but the fact that there's this much core health left, there's still a lot to go here.
Once again, Muradin going in and going deep, but Breeze has his cooldown ready on the Iron Skin and uses it. Here comes Quacknix, flies in, uses the Mighty Gas. They were trying to go for an isolation. It didn't work out. Quacknix too far forward. Quacknix is way too far. He was going for the kill, but he's the target now.
And Rich on the backside going in. Sanctification is getting huge value. They're trying to keep the clone out of that portal to continue to push in. And right now, Fnatic is reacting completely defensively at every turn.
Fnatic a bit too aggressive going into the fight, and he turned against them so fast. Yes, you're right. They needed to play more defensive at this point, and it was a bit of an overextension that we've seen on Quacknix. He thought he could get a kill here. It was not the case. A leyline seal against 4.
They have, and they don't have sanctification for them, and they're continuing to put in. Meriday caught in a trap. We do see Ancestral is used. Swimpy goes down. MVP Black being very aggressive.
And MVP Black goes in. They want to kill, and they get it. They take down Tyrael. Tyrael is down a double kill for the Koreans. This is more what we expected coming into this series. The Koreans really showcasing their individual skills.
This is huge. That top bell tower is so low, but the bottom one is going to go down. It looks like they're going to have a defense of the top one. This could have been much more devastating if that had gone down right before.
MVP Black definitely showing signs of life right now. They are looking strong here in the last few team fights. When we're going straight into replay of the action.
This leyline seal was huge, and the amount of follow-up that we see as we see Schwimpy caught in there, completely blocked in. Great isolation and a huge target there.
And we talked earlier about how Rich is really having a tough time against Fnatic, who always expect him to be there. But he's still making these plays. It just shows how good he actually is.
All 6 are captured in the meantime, and this is a huge, huge moment. It shouldn't be enough to end the game, but the fact that they are prioritizing these spells, actually, this might be game.
It could be. This might be game. It's 20 versus 19. They all have to defend. The portal is helping them too much. MVP Black turning it around. Fnatic with a last stand here. 5 points on the core. They're down to 4. 4 more shots, and this is over. The sanctification's on the ground. They take the bell tower. 3 points on the core, and Fnatic at least 1 hour defense, but they lose Breeze.
This is just absolutely mind-blowing. The turnaround from MVP Black. Only 3 shots left, 1 down. Caldor sanctification was used. They're now on the boss.
They're on the boss, and this is going to end the game if they get it. Fnatic knows it. They're 5 versus 4, but they know they have to make a play. Shrimpy is down, and this has to be it. MVP Black, they can now claim at least 1 map in this best of 5.
Huge opportunities for MVP Black. They capitalize on every single one of them. And guys, we are going to game number 4. It is now 2-1, still in favor of Fnatic.
Shots are fired, and this is the conclusion of game number 3. Quacknix flying in, going deep, realizes he is too late as MVP Black takes the game on Towers of Doom and puts it to 2-1.
Guy in the middle is Mary and that was a huge sigh of relief on his part to finally stake claim to one game in this series. You got to think that Fnatic still in a very good spot.
They must be very happy with how they played so far, and this was incredible play of MVP Black. At the beginning, they really struggled, but they found their rhythm, and as the game continued, as they could make the plays with Muradin having the stun available on 16, and especially, of course, Rich coming into play with his Medivh, that's really when the game started to turn.
I think Rich and Medivh is unbelievable.
Yeah, really playing for the late game. You got to hand it to MVP Black for just controlling the mercenary camps, constantly applying that pressure, stealing the sappers. It never looked like Fnatic was willing to contest those sapper camps, especially on the bottom half of the map. Yep. And structurally, they just managed to take that big, strong advantage. But Dreadnought, we got some dope replays, I hope.
Yeah, luckily we got to choose the fights a little bit easier in this game than we saw in the last one. So we'll start off with replay number 1 in a matter of seconds here. And a lot of it is just some amazing skirmishing, specifically the value coming out from Rich onto the Medivh in these team fights here. With the engagement, this is actually Wubby having a huge sanctification and to be able to help his team get the turn. And you saw the go for the throat there with the Greymane as he dived in, put him into a position where he wasn't able to get onto anybody because of that Wubby sanctification, ends up getting him killed, and it was just overall one of the better team fights that came out of this game. The other replay that we have, we're going to be going to, is again a huge team fight, but it's on the opposite direction. We see the engage here already at the ley line seal, so pretty there, just drawing, you know, the sweet line between that, getting up, being able to pick everybody up into the stasis as they force the fight, and Quacknix instantly is just crippled. But Sake, as you see in the middle of this death ball, he just barely was able to get his shield. He went into that with almost no HP, and as we play it through here, you're going to realize with that reabsorption and the sanctification, or excuse me, and the ancestral, he just comes out full health, and then they're in hot pursuit of everything about Fnatic there. Very well done, MVP Black. Stuck to their guns. They played what they knew they could play, and it was impressive. The one thing that is still catching me off guard, map selection so far in this series, has been really strange. But other than that, it's just been insane.
Yeah, but MVP Black finally have the wind in their sails for the first time in this series. I mean, it was looking good for Fnatic in that match, but you could see that sigh of relief you mentioned for Merryday. They're going to be feeling much more confident in this situation going to our next map, but it's going to be Brax's holdout.
One thing I want to point out, for anybody who may not understand this, like how insane what Fnatic has done, is they're the only Western team ever to take 2 games off MVP Black in a series. Ever. And with this roster, excuse me, there was a weird Liquid best of 3 with a different version, but for this version, that is how insane Fnatic is playing. To not only just win them, but then open it up and just be like, backs against the walls right out the gate. It is ridiculous what Fnatic's been able to do here.
I still can't believe that they actually took the 2-0 lead here, and the comps that they got so far were pretty great. But as mentioned before, the Medivh play that we actually seen on the last map, that was one of the problems that they definitely had to face here. And I'm pretty curious to see what they're going to show going into the draft for the 4th game now, because this is a map that caters a little bit more towards them.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Brax's holdout, even though it's a 2-lane map, we oftentimes see a big prioritization on those global heroes. And although Medivh isn't necessarily a global hero, he does give your team an immense amount of mobility. And since Rich is looking that strong, we're going to have to see how they decide to go this route for game number 4 in this series. We're just going to keep driving because the draft is almost ready.
I feel like we're going to see a respect ban of ETC probably come out again on the side of MVP Black. It seems like Breeze has terrorized them in the first 2 games, so we'll see if that is going to be the first pick. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if they just took that off the board.
I'm a little bit curious to see what exactly Fnatic is going to play. They already played this once, and you can expect that MVP looked at these games. So when it comes to the compositions that they have here, they have several drafts that they like to play here, but they showed already a couple of picks that are pretty uncommon in competitive play. So we could see something like that again. They love to snowball it. The question is, how confident are they going into this 4th map now?
I mean, Dredd, if we were to look at that last game, we talked about the ley line seals being a big part of that. How much of this match is dependent on Rich's performance?
I think a lot of it. I mean, every member really of MVP Black needs to be on point. I think for me, the player that seems to, without a doubt, be underperforming out of the roster right now is Sake. He's the one that I think his strafes, for instance, in some of the games that we saw him before, last game even, I didn't feel like he was an outstanding member of the group. And I feel like he needs to make sure that he's on point, making smart decisions whenever possible if they're going to be successful in the rest of the series, because he can't make that one mistake at like level 20 at this point, because they'll just lose the game, lose the series, and be knocked out of the tournament.
Last time they were on this map, Sake played Gul'dan to great effect, and for this map, Gul'dan has the single best wave clear against those Zerg waves. So if you have your back against the wall, you just throw out Gul'dan and he can take care of that better than anybody in the game.
Well, let's rewind to the first map of this series. That was Tomb of the Spider Queen, and we actually saw Fnatic ban, I believe it was Alarak for the first ban and Gul'dan in the second rotation. Is it worth first picking that Gul'dan to secure it in a situation like this?
I don't think it's even first rotation before second ban. I think if it's there after the second ban, you pick it up. It might be in certain circumstances. This would be one of the few. But as we see Alarak being banned out by Fnatic, I do not blame them one bit.
And they get ETC. This is an important pick for them right now. They get one of the CC tanks on ETC as a first pick. We're respecting that MVP Black was trying to shut them down with this. It's also a comfort pick for Breeze once again. And I really feel like going into these games, you are trying to start off with a comfort pick for one of your best playmakers here, just to make sure that you can then later on adapt. We've seen them try that on towers. It did in the end not work, but they had a very, very close game there against MVP Black. So I really like this opening.
Well, we see the snap lock in for Muradin, and although Malfurion is banned out, we haven't actually seen that much prioritization on Brightwing early on in this series specifically. But we are going to actually see that Gul'dan picked up.
This is that one circumstance.
I like that they pick him this early because I'm pretty sure that Fnatic would have at least considered banning him out if not for an early pick by MVP Black. So I really think this is a smart move.
When we saw MVP Black play Gul'dan, they actually played it and paired it with Lieutenant Morales or Medic, and I don't know if I would feel comfortable saying that I can see them going down that route again, but that might be something that they're going to be interested in, and we'll see if Fnatic is at all concerned with it.
I love that composition though. You throw the Medic with Gul'dan, Medic becomes a mana battery.
I think a huge problem here for MVP is that Fnatic is going to have Quacknix probably pick up the fall set in this rotation. And Donnelly is the global, which complements their playstyle. It's without a doubt one of his best heroes, a signature hero for him. And the disengage is something that MVP, you notice that pattern of the Malfurion ban coming across the board. In the past, that was fall set. Because they're so good at team fighting, if you can't get the team fight, which Gust kind of denies, they were so successful. They just ban fall set, we go blow for you. And that Fnatic's been able to get their hands on that here. It feels like MVP's really struggling with how do we deal with that map mechanic, because again, that is not their strong suit as a team.
Oh, and Fnatic already throwing down the gauntlet here with the Jaina, trying to go for the early game kills. Now we've actually seen them mix this also with a bit of a Tyrande when they're trying to snowball it early, and not a huge fan of it.
Everyone knows that Tyrande is my least favorite hero by far to see in a majority of the compositions that she ends up getting picked in. I do hope that they pull away from that route, but the comp you were alluding to was actually a Rexar Zagara 1-3-1 with a kill comp between the Tyrande, ETC, and Jaina rotating through this map. I do want to see them avoid that here, but we'll see if they think that that's their go-to.
And you know what actually their biggest problem was when they played it the last time? Their biggest problem was that they were facing a false stat that was absolutely making incredible plays and always caught them off guard. In this game, they even let the false set go for now and prioritize the Medivh above it.
We haven't seen a lot of Brax's holdout. It's one of the newer battlegrounds. But we don't normally see a lot of Medivh from Fnatic, so this is obviously something that they've tried and tested. We're going to find out if it works. I did not see this coming.
Is it a removal for the Tyrande composition? It's one of the few heroes that is just a direct counter. You're going to throw out the Lunar Flare and he goes shield, and then you just proceed to laugh at her existence because she doesn't have enough support or damage to really do anything past that point. So I can't help but question that Fnatic is actually moving more of a, we just want to make sure you don't have it. It does okay when it comes to the kill comp. It helps when it comes, it helps with mobility. And so I would like to see, they end up removing the Rexar over Tyrande. I think MVP,
I love it,
says they have the answer for that Tyrande pickup possibly for Fnatic.
Yeah, they know that a stun composition and early game rotation blow-up style is on the horizon, which is why you see the Rexar ban. Rexar also very dominant in the solo lane situation when you can just throw Misha onto that point and control that space.
And the reason why I find this so awesome is that you can, all right, here's the Morales ban, we talked about it earlier with the Gul'dan mix, but coming back to Rexar for just a moment. We talked about the Koreans a lot, especially during opening week, and we said one of the weaknesses that they have is that they scout very little, that they even didn't pay attention to some of the tournaments that were held in Europe and in North America, that they didn't really study their opponents as European and Western teams do. This shows clearly that they've watched everything that had happened here and were taking it into consideration when drafting their own composition.
It seems like it's much more... It's much different now, the fact that they're not snap picking. Like the fact that, as you said, Dredd, Morales was something that can really help out. I think Jake called it a mana battery. first I've heard that one. But Oriole is also really good. Gul'dan can put out serious amounts of damage very quickly. You give that hope over to Oriole, and she's able to get those heals, and it's kind of like a counterbalance there. But we still have to have solo laners. Is Chin still on the board here for Rich right now?
He is. He's left up. They do need to consider their solo laner for MVP Black. I do like Alarak. I think it's a reasonable choice. It doesn't pair as well with some of the heroes that they're going to have for them.
I mean, with Alarak, in this case, I think they would love to play him, but go for the fall set right now.
He was banned out. You know, get deep into the draft, you forget about things like that.
All right, well, the fall set, a nice denial there with that being picked up here for MVP Black. Definitely strong for the disengage and that global presence that we talked about. How impactful that can be, considering there are only 2 lanes.
Fnatic right now is completely deciding where they're going. If they're going to move towards that kind of normal the composition that they've already displayed before. But one thing to point out with the Rexar ban is they can't run a 1-3-1 nearly as successfully anymore because Medivh he's not the best solo laner overall, and if you do put him in a solo laner, he can be very easily punished. So I think that I would like to see them move more towards maybe even a Dahaka route is something that we could see them go with.
I mean, another hero that's open as we're talking.
Chen.
They go for I like the Chen big here for sure for them. They need a bit more damage, and one of the heroes that we have seen picked very early or even banned out throughout the series and has also the wave clear that we still have to consider here is Vala. We've been talking about this phase for the first game quite a bit, but they go for the blow-up comp again.
Now, Tyrande, she excels in blowing up the team, but this means that their sustain is not as much. But Medivh is a pseudo half support. With that shield, it really does help her keep up in the early game and keeping targets alive. And it's also a nice denial, as you mentioned, Dreadnought. Yes, they don't have to worry about that shield nullifying the Hunter's Mark, but it's also a compliment to Tyrande.
Fnatic has essentially put themselves in almost an identical situation as we saw in the very first game of this series, in the sense that they want to make sure, rather than manipulating the map, the minion waves, and everything of the sense, they want to actually get the kills on the single target and abuse that fact of their composition, snowball into their favor. And I feel like MVP, again, has built more to that mid and late game, especially with the Leoric, being able to throw him out, sacrifice to the combo, come back to life, and be able to punish Fnatic.
I know you're not a fan of Tyrande, but the one thing that's missing from Oriole at level 7 is a cleanse.
The cleanse, yep.
So it's normally you have to be aggressive. Sometimes it's early rotations. You have to be able to get those picks. And then what we saw late game the other day, or yesterday, wasn't nearly as impactful. But without a cleanse there, that threat is now the entire game.
But whenever you play a style like this, isn't there like a big priority on making sure you get kills early and then you kind of fall behind if you don't succeed in doing so?
I mean, they definitely want to get those kills, but the one thing I like going into a later stage of the game is that they have with Chen now a hugely disruptive force, so they can make a lot of plays happen here. Yesterday, when we saw Zero Panda play, one of the things that Fred and I talked about later is that also, with a lack of cleanse, you can easily go into a barrel. So you can go for the Wandering Keg and just isolate targets here. That is a huge point that we might see from them, and a lot of it. But one thing about MVP is they do have a lot of clear, even if they fall behind when it comes to the early Zerg rushes. And they do have a lot of disengage. Even though there is no cleanse, there still is the Aegis, you still have the Gus, and you still have Leoric to sacrifice in the later half of the game. I feel like MVP has adjusted those last picks very, very well to Fnatic's comp. And as long as they just, again, make it to the late game on even footing, and this time hopefully aren't too late to a boss, I actually think that MVP has got the upper hand.
I'm curious what kind of creative usage we see with Entomb paired with Horrify, because we saw some really cool stuff already out of MVP with that Horrify paired with things like Holy Ground, and the potential is quite cool.
Actually, God, I'm pretty sure you stole that. But I was wondering the same thing. I mean, they were kind of the first ones to where we saw it try to be replicated by Dignitas. And so it seems to be a trend. It's something they could be a trendsetter right here at this stage.
All right, guys. Well, it is time for game number 4. So make some noise as we jump into Brax's Holdout.
Caldor, game number 4. Fnatic up 2 games to 1, but we are on Brax's Holdout, a map unlike any other in the game. And MVP Black is going to be on the blue side once more as Kyocha on Falstad, Mary Day on Ariel, Rich on Leoric, Sake on Gul'dan, and Sign on Murden.
And all the way to the right side of the map, once again in game number 4, it is Breeze on ETC, Quantnix playing Jaina, Schwimpy picking up Medivh, Smexy on Tyrande, and Whoopi on Chen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Fnatic!
Well, we already see the posturing up. There it is. They're going in right away. Sign.
Welcome to Blizzcon. in, 16 seconds in, and Fnatic have first blood.
I love the positioning, just making use of Fog of War, that little nook. They got there first, they rotated over. That is Muradin. And again, without the cleanse later, this is a threat the entire game.
This is a map that Fnatic loves to play. They're trying to snowball. You can see it with their composition. Yes, they have also plays available a bit later on down the road. But of course, with this comp, you try to dominate early on. There is massive wave clear for MVP Black though. And let's see what the Korean Overlords are going to pull off in game number 4.
They're going to have to pull off something a little bit different than that start, but we are at the laning phase. Jaina has huge wave clear with her Blizzard, but so far holding on to it for the potential kill. Normally we see the priority using that. It's on a little longer cooldown, but right now it's just a matter of like, hey, let's just clear this naturally and continue to be aggressive.
Yeah, and if you look at the talents on level 1, we have Chen going into the Grounding Brood, really respecting all that ability damage that we're seeing for MVP Black, and on top of it, Breeze with that prog rock. They're just trying to complement a bit for Tyrande. Heal is of course going to become a bit of an issue in the later stages of the game, even with the Medivh being able to throw out those shields.
That's a huge point, and the fact that it's at level 1, I mean, I'm so glad that you pointed out both of those because that's a huge advantage, especially when you look at that solo Tyrande, so we'll see exactly how impactful that is. But first beacon phase is coming up in 10 seconds.
Yeah, and Breeze eating a bit of damage here, and of course let's not forget that Sako on his cooldown is currently really working on those stacks for his corruption, and that's going to do massive damage later on in the game. It's not only a great tool to just like get that wave clear in, but right now Fnatic is working for those 2 points and attempting to pick up the first few points for the objective.
They could be posturing. There's the portal. Are they going to make use of it? But Kyocha has flown down to join the fight. Breeze hopping in and out. Just having a little bit of fun there.
Kyocha getting triggered there for a quick fly down, but up to the top lane, it's still Chen going up against Leoric. The 4 versus 4 raging on at that bot lane. The first kill for Fnatic was cute, but they need to do way more than this if they want to win the best of 5.
They do experience right now slightly in favor of Fnatic as they picked up level 4, but those stacks, as you said, the corruption continuing to hit the targets. Level 4 now picked up by MVP Black.
I really came here today and I was like, if I get 4 games out of this series, I'm going to be a very happy panda. But right now, this is absolutely beautiful what we're seeing. This is Heroes of the Storm on the highest level, and Europe is really rising to the challenge now.
They are, and I mean, this is one of the moments where I think that they can afford to be aggressive, but that right there is the reason why Wubby is having so much trouble in that top lane. But good use of timing on that brew, not able to secure anything. Look at the damage there.
Yeah, Quacknix has to be extremely careful on this Jaina. The damage output that we're seeing on the side of Gul'dan is incredible. And if you're on one of those lower hit point pool heroes, you need to be cautious. Look at the objective right now. MVP Black, they hold both of the beacons.
For the moment, they're up to 34%, but channeling that is Breeze. We got to look for those moments. You said that first kill was nice, but they have to do more. And so far, right now, MVP Black has a little bit of an advantage.
And so far, they actually are playing very well around the composition that we have now for Fnatic. Of course, they know that there's going to be a stun into stun, so they're just like trying to make sure that nobody is caught off guard. Portals are everywhere. Saka still stacking. The top lane also raging on, but Fnatic is struggling to pick that second kill.
And at the same time, MVP Black doesn't have huge kill potential just yet. The corruption stacks are going to be their key to doing some of that late game damage. But right now, priority for the camp for MVP Black working out in their favor.
And it's really a massive problem for Fnatic that up at the top lane, there's not really too much that Chen can do against Leoric here. So as long as that's the case, they need to get the kills down here like this one, where Falstad is eliminated by the combo.
Good use of the portal there. As you can see, they do get the kill, and that's a huge moment. But the bigger story is always going to be that top lane. At what point will we see Fnatic rotate up? Right now, they're just trading back and forth, and eventually that will work out in favor of MVP Black. But Shwimpy has joined the party.
Shwimpy is moving in. They're trying to go for it here. They tried to go for another kill, but he barely gets out of there. That jump in the portal. Leoric is down, but the fight rages on at the bottom beacon.
Yeah, we see Breeze. He does power slide out. A nice stun there. But this is channeled by both teams once again. Look for them to rotate down. Again, Fnatic can start making plays once more as they're down at the bottom.
I'm really loving the dynamic that we have here. Just like trying to switch between top and bottom and always getting the access. Now Fnatic is picking up a few points, but it's not really meant to be because Leoric at the top lane has re-engaged and is still winning that fight against Chen.
I mean, the longer this goes out, you got to think the corruption stacks are real. We're about halfway there, but now Master's Touch has been picked up by Medivh. If he can continue to poke, that will be his power spike. So as this draws out, the poke can work work out over time.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Medivh is going to be key in this, and Shrimpy already showed a few very good portals here. The one that picked up the kill against Leoric, and earlier we saw the kill against Falstad. They're really trying to play with that mobility, and so far very successfully.
There goes Breeze, the power slide in, the follow-up. Sake is able to stay alive, and now we see Quacknick's under trouble, but Sign with that Hunter's Mark forced to back up, but he's hopping right on the beacon.
And actually, we saw Jaina dodge the Stormbolt there. That was huge. Without that dodge, it could have been the end of Quacknick's, but the fight is not over yet. Again, they go for Sake, but he is still alive and forces Fnatic back for a moment as Shrimpy channels the beacon.
Yeah, I think they recognize the power is definitely going to be in that beacon. They want to try and neutralize whatever effect you can. And remember, the higher that is, the bigger your wave, and we'll see if Fnatic can get any bit on their side.
The machine gun build on the side of Quacknick's, always aiming for these skill shots right now, trying to hit his targets. Corruption being thrown out over and over again, but so far we're not seeing Sake at full stacks yet.
Not at all, and it's up to Schwempy to continue to get his stacks. He hasn't got a whole lot just yet, and there's Wubby and Rich. I hate to say it, but this is not going to be the most exciting lane. All the action is definitely going to be at the bottom here.
It's definitely a bit of a standoff that we have up at the top for sure. The rotations are the only way how Fnatic can reconquer the lane. That's the only thing that they can do, but they're already struggling to win the bot lane.
For what it's worth, Fnatic has a slight experience advantage, not much, but if they can get 10 in a timely manner, they might be able to be very aggressive with their approach. We'll see how they go, but they have dropped back and are now prioritizing a camp. This is one of those things where when it stalls out, maybe you should go grab a camp.
And they're actually just trying to posture around with Breeze a bit and just like suggesting to MVP Black that there is still some heroes in the back that could jump on them any moment. MVP Black doesn't realize that the camp is about to be taken, so they don't engage heavily, and now Fnatic has a bit of pressure at that bot lane that they can use.
Think about if they are able to get some towers down with this camp, and that will give them the experience that they need. They're 9.5. They're putting the pressure on, but it is being cleared up very, very quickly by MVP Black.
I can't stress enough how important it really is for both of these teams, and we've seen it throughout all the maps so far, to just play with vision. Always suggest to your opponent that you are there in full force with 4 or 5 heroes and have someone else like maybe moving a bit to the back, clearing a camp, trying to get the extra pressure up while your opponent is just intimidated.
At some point, Schwempy's going to have to come down and join this fight. Level 10 is on the doorstep here for Fnatic, but his stacks are not anywhere near where they should be. But Starfall, Leyline, Seal, 2 of the heroics being picked up here. Rich taking a bit of damage here in the top lane.
Breeze with the mosh pit, not going for the stage dive. The top lane still under the control of MVP Black. Even with a 10, we're not seeing will be making a lot of plays just yet. Of course, doesn't want to pop his ult against the Leoric here. But at the bot lane, we have beacon number 2 in the hands of Fnatic.
How tense is this for both these teams? I mean, you have MVP Black down 2-1. You're on this map. You don't really have that much of an aggressive comp. You're just going to be at the back, more defensive postured, but Fnatic not necessarily willing to commit just yet.
If BlizzCon showed anything so far, it's really that the gap is closing. But as we say that, Leyline Seal is in the mosh pit. It's a kill. It's a double kill. Fnatic goes in. They are aggressive and they want more. They want Meriton.
That's the moment they were looking for. The storm lands, the lunar flare. They continue to do damage, but that is the moment that they needed. They're now channeling the beacon.
They're channeling the beacon, and up to the top lane, we'll be going for Rich. Fnatic with the plays. They are saying, hey, here we are, and we are here to win.
I mean, the plays right there, we talk about the power slides from ETC, it landed in there, but the follow-up was huge. Caldor, let's take a look at that.
I mean, check out that replay. We are starting off with the Leyline Seal, in comes the Starfall, the Ring of Frost, it's all there, and it's an immediate double kill on Oriel, not even able to use her heroic, but the fight is raging on over the beacon at the bot lane as MVP is back to fight, 60% versus 72.
Breeze going in, looking to be aggressive. There's the follow-up, the stun, but the Crystal Aegis is there. They're still on top of it. The Blizzard coming out. Sake!
Oh my God! Quacknick's with a kill. Confirms it. What a close call.
Wow. He was so close to dying, and he ended up getting him at the last bit of that bolt, and that was huge. And again, the channeling of the beacon is about to commence. 72% about to go up higher.
Without the Pierce, without the Frost charts on level 4, this kill would not have been possible.
Yeah, it was unbelievable play, unbelievable follow-up, but the beacons are channeling. Caldor, I think it's time for the first Zerg waves to join the map.
It's time for the objective to come into play here on Praxis. BlizzCon, this is Fnatic. They're moving in, and look how close they are to level 13.
Well, let's see if Gul'dan power is huge on this map. As I said, he'll continue to try and wave them down. The Fel Flames are real, but this board is going down very, very quick.
Tehran, they're trying to get the experience at the top. They're saying we need Chen. We want to go deep for this one. Rich realizes it, pressuring it back. The Starfall is being used on a defensive measure. For the bot lane already down. And Fnatic, they are pushing for keep.
They are. They're posturing up. They're putting damage onto that. Right now, level 13 has been picked up, so very aggressive right now.
Fnatic is on the move. They want it all here. They still have everything there. They have the damage. They're pushing this in with those Broodlords in the back, all the way to the top. They're already starting to move back to, can Fnatic maybe pick up a kill here?
They're trying their posturing, but they realize they're going to have to back eventually. The power is just too strong on the defense, but they've given themselves almost a 2-level lead, Caldor.
They are massively ahead in experience right now, and it's still an entire level until MVP Black will have that extra talent, and it's time to steal some camps.
I mean, when you have that talent to your advantage and you're already on that side of the map, why not go for it? You can scout it out as Medivh continues to fly overhead.
Fnatic, they are still looking. They know, thanks to Shrimpy, where MVP Black is. There's the camp. They have the talent. They want to steal it away. Breeze is there. They snipe the Aegis. They're trying to drop them. They're Ring of Frost. And it could be a kill, but MVP Black is still moving back.
Somehow Rich stayed alive. The fear is in as Sake puts them away. And that was a huge moment. MVP Black lucky to get out alive. And look at this, Caldor. They instantly rotate onto the boss.
They don't get the kill, and they still have the confidence to go for boss here. It is a massive boss here on Braxis, and they are moving in with MVP Black being a little bit too late to stop them. Or are they?
Wubby is on there. The Dwarf Dog's not able to get in, and that is a boss for Fnatic.
That's a boss for Fnatic right there. And at the bot lane, their keep is being attacked thanks to the camp. And they are moving in together with the boss. They move to the top. They didn't secure the kills earlier, but Fnatic, they want to get as much as they can right now to maybe even snowball it farther and farther towards level 16.
This is when you know a team is on top of their game. Zero hesitation. Take advantage of that talent here and be very aggressive, and that's exactly what they're doing. Getting those structures will get them closer to 16. This is unbelievable. A 2-level lead right now for Fnatic.
Fnatic is pushing, but we have MVP Black starting to pick the level 13 talent. They are so close right now. Can they make the defense happen here? We have the Attune, the Mighty Gus. They go for Jaina. Quacknick's in trouble. The portal saves him. The leyline seal is in. The mosh pit.
The mosh pit is there. They don't get the kill. Ring of Frost on the backside. Takes down Muradin.
Muradin is down, and in comes Wubby. In comes the portal. Breeze is there. The power slide. We have the Discord strike against Chen, but once again, Mary Day in trouble.
Mary Day is caught out, and there is no way he survives this. 2 kills for Fnatic, and the beacons are now up.
The crowd is going ham as we see 8 kills for Fnatic against 0 for Korea.
Unbelievable. They're almost 16. Caldor, it's almost a 3-level lead. Fnatic in complete control here on Braxis.
At this point, the only thing that I really want for this game is an interview with Wolf afterwards.
Oh, Wolf. We'll see how he is if this goes out in the back. He is nervous, but right now, Fnatic looks calm and collected as the camps are captured, the beacons are being channeled, and 16 is about to be had.
That sliver of experience that Fnatic needs right now, and they will pick up the talent. Look at that beacon progress. It's 100%! 100% Darkwave! MVP Black is in so much trouble. Look at these talents. 3-level lead, 16 talent versus 13, and 100% objective.
Caldor, you have to hope that Gul'dan and team can push this back. If a pick happens with that talent tier advantage, the threat of a game is here, but look how fast this is going down.
Fnatic, they know this is a chance to even end the game. Can they get the pick? MVP, they are afraid right now. We have the Swedes pushing in, and here comes the play.
The early Crystal Aegis is there. Starfall is down. Mighty Gus. Wubby is isolated, but he has used his heroic, and now the leyline seal is down.
The Ring of Frost. They go for every day. The kill is not there yet. Can they confirm it? There it is. Down goes Oriel.
Sign forced the back.
to move down to the bot lane. They still have a camp pushing.
One keep down, and this is huge. They're posturing up for a second one. The amount of pressure they can put on the map right now is huge, as they still have a 5-3 advantage.
Fnatic is showing no mercy. They are not showing nerves. They're pushing in relentlessly against Korea. It is keep number 2, 16 minutes in, and Europe is on the verge of maybe the biggest upset that we have seen this whole tournament.
Right now, they have to keep the pressure on, keep control of the lanes. They'll now have catapults pushing. They have to hope that the next beacon phase gets here before 16 or somehow continue their lead. They have this game fully in control and can play it however they want it, but they have to make sure that they play the Talontiers to their advantage.
Fnatic is turning this 4th game into a quick match. 10 against 0 kills, 3 levels ahead, and they are painting the map red.
Unbelievable play right now, but it is a very tense moment. They cannot afford to make any mistakes, but they're posturing up, getting vision, looking for potentially another fight right now.
MVP, of course, they are looking for an opportunity, but again, the kill against Leoric. It is Fnatic. They're going with a portal once more. They're jumping in deep for another one.
They're going in. There's the slow, but the mighty gust for the disengage, but that pick was exactly what they needed.
Right now, camp after camp is being taken here. 3-level lead. The core is pressured. Korea is looking like they might lose this here. Fnatic leads with a 2-1, and they are starting to push. They have the boss on the map again. They have all the opportunities they need to decide this game in their favor.
They're looking for any opportunity they can. They have their foot on the gas, and they are not letting off. The camp pushing in, and they are looking to be aggressive, but Caldor, both beacons up here in just a few seconds.
Sign was trying to go for the flank. He was setting up for position, but Fnatic saw him coming. Look at the experience, though. This is where it really gets crucial for Fnatic. Korea is so close to level 16. If they pick that talent up, they can turn the entire game. They only have to win a big fight. They are so far behind right now, but this game is not over yet.
MVP recognizes that they can't give this up. They can't give up another Zerg wave. They have no keep standing. They might be down a Talontier, but this might be the only opportunity that they have.
The Aegis, it's in. Could we see the kill? And yes, we do. Leoric is dead. Fnatic. They move in. There's the mighty gust. That's Chen. Dying state again.
Breeze is out, but we do see the Panda on the backside. Kionja!
Falstad. Orion is down. Saga dies, and this is game.
Caldor!
Europe is on the move. Fnatic pushes against the core. Breeze is leading the charge, and Fnatic does what no one has thought possible. They go for the core. They want to win the game. They want to go to the final.
Fnatic has done the unexpected and taken down MVP Black. It is history in the making.
Fnatic is so close. Falstad comes back. 30% on the core, but it is over. It is over.
GG!
Unbelievable. Never in my wireless dreams did I expect this. Look at these guys. What an amazing team. Robbie, Breeze, Quadix, Smexy, and Trimpy. European heroes right there.
Caldor, the crowd is on their feet in unison. Give it up for Fnatic again!
In every single tournament this year, MVP Black has been in the top 2, but Fnatic, the gatekeepers for PBA, E-Star, Zero Panda, and now they have eliminated MVP Black, arguably the favorites of the entire event.
I'm amazed. How? now. Like, it's just so amazing that this team has been able to do this. It's not even like they broke so many records just by being able to do this. I can't even, like, getting more than one game. You're like, all right, that's a pretty neat one. Knocking out MVP Black, like beating them as a Western team never happened before with this roster ever. And then the fact that they did it in a best of 5, this isn't even a best of 3, and removing MVP Black from getting top 2 for the first time since they pretty much formed.
This was such an amazing series. It was tougher than the hardest work, and I'm sweating the entire time. It's totally killing me. This is unbelievable.
Truly a beautiful moment here for Fnatic, and they did some innovative stuff. We saw not only the synergy of the double support kind of with Medivh, but the ley line seal setups. So many cool things in that matchup. I mean, Dread, I'm sure you've got some phenomenal replays for us.
Yeah, the ley line seal, overall the Medivh play in that first game was just ridiculous. Starting with the ley line seal on bottom, moving into the wombo combo out of the Ring of Frost, being able to pick everybody up. This replay just shows the strength of the Medivh overall. Schwimpy was single-handedly the biggest playmaker on this roster for me during this game. And the Tronda follow-up, the Jaina follow-up, the pairings that they had across the board, it was just ridiculous from Fnatic, the synergy.
It's absolutely mind-blowing to me how this team has developed. Like at the beginning of the year, those regionals, they were struggling so often. They improved over and over again, up to the point where they made it here. Everybody said, what about Misfits? What about Misfits? Fnatic can't replace them. Look at them. They're in the final. Europe is in the final and just won against Korea.
And you know, Misfits has to be feeling proud for them. Because of that match we saw, the tiebreaker in Europe, I mean, Fnatic carried their weight here in honor.
Misfits practiced with Fnatic every single day, like their own tournament life was at the line every day. And this is what we have right now. We have a European team in the finals.
Fnatic has never even won a European regional. just so they have never won a European regional, and they just took out MVP Black to move on to the grand finals. They have removed some of the most exciting teams so far in this tournament with all the ones that you listed. It's just, I'm just a loss for words for their success.
Just you wait what our European champion is going to do with ballistics.
All right, Trey. Well, I think we got some more replays, so let's break them down.
Yeah, so moving on to the second replay, this is phenomenal on the side of Schwimpy. Once again, onto the Medivh. There's going to be an Entomb to be able to get the isolation up above, and just watch the ability, the Chen diving out of the back line, ley line seal moving in, isolating the targets as they're just aggressively diving, the pairing onto Ariel again, using that wombo combo here. I've never seen a team use Medivh in the way that we saw Fnatic in this game, and I can't help but just, again, look at the portal, gonna be able to save Wubby as he walks away on the Chen, just not caring, drinking the brew. Everything that they did, they were so synergized with him. It wasn't just, you know, the one-man Master's Touch show as you typically see with the Medivh play.
They just turned Super Saiyan in this match.
Yeah.
You know, if we look at BlizzCon last year, the first real BlizzCon we've had for Heroes of the Storm, that was North America and Europe. This means that Europe is the first region to be in BlizzCon's finals 2 years in a row.
That is true.
And that is a momentous occasion here for EU. But speaking of EU, I hear we've got an interview with Anna Prosser. Take it away, Anna.
Thanks so much, Jake. I'm here with Quacknix. And man, I have to ask you, I mean, coming into this match, so many people were saying, well, MVP Black, arguably the best team in the world. And then first game, it's like, oh, wow, Fnatic's playing out of their minds, you know? Oh, maybe they have a chance to take a couple games. And now here we are at the end. And that match did not look like an underdog story to me. Did you expect this, or are you feeling like you played out of your mind?
I mean, we obviously played like super well, but I always say, and like everybody in our team is like, no matter how it goes, we're really fine and we're really happy with our performance so far. But it's just like we have no pressure on us because we kind of feel that we're already done with the tournament because we're so happy with the placement we have. And then like if we get our stuff in the drafts and play it good, we know we can beat them, but the odds are kind of stacked against us.
There are so many moments in those games that I would love to ask you about. We could be here for an hour, but I'm wondering, is there any decision that your team made that sticks out in your head as, oh, I know that was the right decision and that was a turning point for us, or any moment where you knew you were going to do it?
I actually want to give like a big shout out to Schwimpy for the last game because I was not sure about the Medivh pick. It's a strategy that we have practiced, but I was not sure if I wanted to pick it up. Yeah, Schwimpy really wanted it, and I actually listened to him, so. Yeah, look at that last game.
It was a great one, and the crowd has not just been cheering for you, they have been roaring for you. And I can tell just looking at you that you're a little bit overcome with emotion. I know that there are some special people here in the crowd for you. They love you so much. Who's here watching you and supporting you, and what does that mean to have those special people here?
I mean, everybody seems to be here cheering for everybody, but I think we have like most of the crowd with us, so I'm super happy for that. I love you guys. Thank you so much. It means so much.
I specifically mean there's someone special in the crowd for you, right?
And there's also my mom and my brother came from Sweden here.
Thank you guys so much for supporting pro gamers this way, and thank you so much for showing us an amazing game. I know that you want to go celebrate with your team, and we want to keep celebrating Heroes of the Storm, so don't worry, we'll be right back after this.
Let's go!